This is the Vaguely Nerdy Podcast, where every week this brother-sister duo gets together to discuss box office, latest film and TV scoops, along with our latest movie or show review, and what we're getting into next. We are your hosts, Cheryl
and Jay.
Your turn for trivia. What you got for me?
Quick one, very easy.
You said
don't overthink it.
You said you couldn't find one because I knew everything about this movie, right? But let's see.
The current Captain Marvel is not the first woman to hold the title. Who was?
The current Captain Marvel
was not the first woman to hold the title. Who was?
You mean like Brie Larson is not the first person?
Carol Danvers.
Carol Danvers. Okay. It's Monica Rambeau, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Monica Rambeau was technically in the comics the first Captain Marvel.
Right.
By name. But Miss Carol Danvers had already existed as a superhero. She was going by Miss Marvel at the time. She was going by Miss Marvel, and then she got all her power stolen by Rogue of the X-Men. Mm-hmm. And she was in a coma for a little while. And then she was dead.
Of course.
And
came back.
Then she came back and took the name of Captain Marvel.
Where was Monica at that point?
Monica had changed her name to either Photon or Spectrum.
Okay.
Because she was with the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when Kamala Khan took the name Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel.
Because it was free. It was available.
It was available. Like a domain name. Nobody was using it. That is very interesting. I knew that part, but I did not know that she went by Miss Marvel first.
Yeah, she went by Miss Marvel. She wore like a leotard and thigh-high boots, and she had a red sash. Oh, she looked completely different.
But they kept the sash part, though, I see, for Kamala.
Yeah, they kept the sash part for Kamala. She still kind of wears a sash in the comic books.
Okay.
Like a waist sash. Okay. But yeah, she looked complete. She's had a lot of different outfits and looks.
Of course.
Usually it goes from skimpy to now. Because you know back then they were all like wearing like all the male superheroes were like fully clothed and like the female superheroes were like panties and boots to battle.
Scantily clad all the time
to
fighting
battle.
aliens and flying in outer space. Like where's our pants at? Okay, that makes sense. Cool. Good trivia.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the episode.
Okay. Welcome, fellow movie buffs. I'm Jay.
I'm Cheryl.
Listen in as we break down movie and TV shows, tell you what's in the plot, and hear if we think you should have watched it when you had the chance.
Dun, dun, dun. We're going to see if we cannot go on for 4 hours because this is a jam-packed episode. We have trailers. We have 4, 5 trailers. Yeah. The actor strike is over. Yay! So we'll talk about that. And immediately after that was announced, production news came out about several movies. So we'll talk about that. Mm-hmm. Loki season 2 officially ended on Thursday. So we're going to recap the whole season and what we thought about it. And our last part of this episode will be getting into the Marvels, which we just saw yesterday.
Yeah, so we're gonna try to fast track our thoughts as much as we can because we technically have 2 long reviews at the end of this episode.
We'll see how it goes,
and we will see how it goes. We have the first trailer that just came out earlier this week for Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. This is technically Ghostbusters 2 of the Ghostbusters reboot.
But this is like what, the 6th Ghostbusters movie?
I think in canon.
Oh. The canon, non-canon situation.
I think it's the 4th.
Okay.
Because there's Ghostbusters 1, there's Ghostbusters 2, which is not very well liked.
You know, I wasn't really into Ghostbusters as a kid. So I've seen the first one, but beyond that, I can't tell you the difference between any of them.
Ghostbusters 2 was not as well received as Ghostbusters 1.
Okay.
So there's Ghostbusters 2. Afterlife is 3 because they don't recognize Lady Ghostbusters as canon,
which was
funny,
entertaining.
I enjoyed Lady Ghostbusters. It was funny,
but you know it was an all-female movie, so
yeah, so it's on theme.
Next,
and this would be the 4th one.
Oh, okay. Empire. Oh, so there's not as many as I thought.
No, they've just been spread across
centuries.
Yeah.
Okay. It looks okay.
It looks like
they didn't show much, which was probably good because nowadays trailers show too much, and this one didn't give too much. Like they explain, you see why it's Frozen Empire because New York City is going through like a freeze of some sort of, which I'm assuming the ghost caused. But
so the synopsis basically says an ancient artifact was uncovered that releases a second ice age.
Ice age.
That is a supernatural ice age.
Okay.
That is caused by a new ghost enemy, a new ghost big bad.
I wonder how they get to New York because in the last Ghostbusters,
they move.
Did they move?
Yeah, at the end of the movie, it's implied that they moved to New York because Winston, the one black Ghostbuster who's rich, opens up the firehouse.
Ah, okay. It's been a minute since.
Yeah, so it's implied. I don't think we see them move, but it's implied. It's a continuation of Ghostbusters Afterlife. It picks up where that movie left off, where the cast is now a mix of the original Ghostbusters
and the new kids,
which is Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson, the original living Ghostbusters. I don't know if Sigourney Weaver is going to be in this one. She was in the end credit scene of the last one.
She was. She'll probably make an appearance just for good old time's sake.
But it will also incorporate the new age heroes, which are the kids.
And Paul Rudd.
So we'll now have like Paul Rudd. We'll now have McKenna Grace, who played the main character in the Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah.
The character from the actor from Stranger Things.
I can't think of his name.
Finn Wolfhard and Carrie Coon, who's the mom.
She was good.
I really liked her.
She was probably my favorite, actually.
Paul Rudd and Carrie Coon were probably my favorite characters in the movie. Even though you're supposed to focus on the kids, the adults were actually the highlight of that movie. It looks like more of the same.
There you go.
It looks like the exact same movie as the first one. A different location, big bad,
different
and
villain.
A different type of threat, but it's the same movie.
It does. I was kind of like, this doesn't really show anything new
because they're still kids.
Yep.
They look like they're the exact same age they were in the last movie. Even though they're not, it seems like they're the exact same age.
Right.
Yeah.
So it comes out March 29th. So springtime movie, 2024. So next year, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I didn't really gauge any type of reception.
I don't think it attracted a lot of attention. This happened, spoiler alert, the actor strike ended this week. So there were a lot of trailers that came out, but it was very hard for any of them to get a lot of attention because most people were just trying to figure out what was going on with the strike.
Right.
And
because leading up to the strike being over, there was news of them going back and forth. And
like every day.
Right. They were close. They were meeting. They were all of that. So it wasn't just quiet and then the strike was over. All week there was buzz going back and forth. So Candy Cane Lane, it is starring Eddie Murphy and Tracy Ellis Ross. It will be a Prime Video special. So it's not going to theaters that I'm aware of unless they do that 1 week release thing. But it comes out on Prime, Amazon Prime, December 1st. It is a Christmas themed movie where Eddie Murphy basically looks like he makes a deal with an elf that goes bad and causes a bunch of chaos. That's what I took from the trailer. It looks cute though. You're not interested. You got a look on your face.
I'm not interested.
I think I'm gonna watch it. I want more Black family holiday fun movies.
It looks like the Black Nutcracker.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
It looks more like Johnson's Family's Vacation on Christmas.
Because the kids are in the house and it's full of like Christmas stuff and the toys come to life, start talking.
But there's like a curse involved of something.
So the evil Black Nutcracker.
Oh, they make it seem like here it is. There's a competition in the neighborhood for best Christmas lights. So Eddie Murphy makes some sort of deal with I'm assuming it's an elf, to have the best display, and like things start going awry, and she's like, well, she's almost like Ursula, where she's like, well, he signed his contract, so he got to fulfill whatever, and if he don't, he's gonna turn into a figurine of some sort. But Eddie Murphy has a couple of funny lines in the movie, which makes me think it's gonna be at least cute and entertaining.
It looks like it'll be cute and entertaining. I'm not interested only because two things. One, Eddie Murphy and Amazon burned me once with Coming to America. They were responsible for that atrocity.
I've wiped that from my memory. So
I did too, but this brought it back. And two, I don't like PG-13 Eddie Murphy. I only like rated R Eddie Murphy. I like Nutty Professor Eddie Murphy.
Nutty Professor was PG-13.
It was rated R.
Was it?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not really shocked by that.
I think so. Let me check.
I was gonna say it was probably hard PG-13 if it wasn't rated R.
Yeah, it was PG-13. Okay. But you know what? It was 96. And I think it was rated R because you could get away with a lot more. I mean, we watched Rush Hour, and I thought that was rated R, but that was PG-13. No. So let me correct myself. I like 90s PG-13 Eddie Murphy since he's not rated R Eddie Murphy.
Old school, borderline, almost R, but not R.
Like Children's Family Eddie Murphy?
No, I think he's trying to. He's done a lot. Not a lot, but his last couple movies he's done have been more PG-13.
Yeah.
Because he had that movie on Netflix.
I mean, because that's where the money is. PG-13 is the money category.
You're right. So, you're right. Yeah. And it's coming out on Christmas. And it's on Amazon Prime. They're trying to get as many people as possible to watch it. So
it's gonna blow up. The thing about Coming to America, I did not like that movie, like any part of it, but it got a lot of streaming attention. So his deal with Amazon Prime works out. So.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that movie, but I will watch Candy Cane Lane for the both of us and let everyone know how it is.
Excellent. Next trailer, Lift, starring Kevin Hart, Gugu Mbatha-Raw from Loki. Mm-hmm. She plays Renslayer. Vincent D'Onofrio, who is famous from Law and Order. Mm-hmm. Criminal Intent.
Yes, I believe he was Criminal Intent. I mean, he's been in
the multiverse of Law and Order, and Kingpin in Daredevil and the upcoming Echo
He was
series.
Also the weird alien in Men in Black.
And the bad guy in Jurassic World who wanted to use the raptors for the military.
He's got quite the filmography.
And Sam Worthington, who's known for his voice work on Avatar.
And Clash of the Titans.
And
Revenge of the Clash of the Titans. There's like a whole thing about Sam Worthington, how he like did Avatar and like didn't blow up.
Yeah, because he was the only person who was cast in Avatar who wasn't already like a name.
And he didn't become
everybody around him was already like deep in their careers. Mm-hmm. Even Michelle Rodriguez was more known than Sam Worthington.
He didn't become a name after. So there's like a whole like, I think, write-up or workup on.
And that makes it lends credence to why actors don't want to stay in roles where their face isn't in it a lot. Because Pedro Pascal was the exact same. Mandalorian was his breakout role, but word on the street was he had an issue with constantly doing Mandalorian because
you don't see his face.
So
that's like literally a rule of the Mandalorian.
Yes.
Not like, to take your helmet off.
Right.
So this is a Netflix special. And when I say special, I mean it's only coming on Netflix. But Netflix in January next year on the 12th, I just so happened to be strolling through Twitter and saw this and was like, is this a Kevin Hart, Vincent D'Onofrio, Gugu movie?
Yeah, I saw
hear anything about this.
I saw the trailer get posted on Twitter, and I scrolled past it and didn't watch it.
So then you saw it on here. You was
when
like,
I saw the agenda for today's show, I was like, great, let me watch it.
But let me tell you why I put it on here is because it looks like a knockoff of Italian Job, Fast and the Furious, with a little mix of
Heart of Stone.
This looks real cheesy.
It doesn't look good at all.
No. I was actually surprised Vincent D'Onofrio was in this. I was like, Vincent, what are you doing in here? Because it looks like let me tell you, it looks like a Kevin Hart movie and a Netflix movie.
I mean,
and if you can imagine what those two would look like, that's what this movie is.
I mean, it's the stream. I mean, Vincent D'Onofrio's been in the streaming space.
It's not because it's more of the cheesiness and the carbon copy of being an Italian Job / Fast and Furious / all the other movies.
I mean, it's a Kevin Hart movie. All Kevin Hart movies have that look of
cheesy.
Like let's throw this movie together and put it out.
We shot this in 3 months.
And I think all his movies do extremely well because they're very cheap to make, which makes it.
This one though look like it might have budget. They got planes and they like.
It looks like it has the same amount of budget as Heart of Stone.
Flying out of like things with suits on, and
Heart of Stone had the same type of
he
action
looked like he got a Mission
and
Impossible thing happening. No,
doesn't look as good. No,
we probably won't talk about it, but I'm curious to see what the reception is.
I'm curious about the budget, but it's Netflix, so we'll never know. But that's what I really want to know. I want to know the budget.
We'll know views at least.
It does have a runtime of 104 minutes.
Okay, that's not bad. That's acceptable.
That sounds like it's just long enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right.
Next trailer we got for a TV series named Yu Hakusho.
I've heard of Yu Hakusho though.
This is a Netflix series. It's a live action adaptation of the 90s anime of the same name, which was Yu Hakusho. I think it was called The Spirit Detective.
Okay.
And basically the premise of the show was about a guy who's an a-hole and he's a narcissist and he's self-centered and he's selfish. Does one selfless act. He saves a little boy from getting hit by a car. Okay. But he ends up dying.
I got that from the trailer that he don't make it.
As a reward for his one selfless act, there's not like a god, but the person who's in charge of the spirit realm, I don't want to spoil too much, reincarnates him, gives him his life back.
I got that from the trailer too.
But he has to be a spirit detective. So basically they're like, we're going to send you back. You can go back to living your life. But on the side, you have to like investigate these supernatural spirit things that are happening.
Kind of like a Constantine.
Yeah, okay. It's kind of like Constantine, a lot less dark. Constantine was very dark.
Yes, a lot of
and was very horror centered.
Right.
It's whimsical. The anime had the energy of a Dragon Ball Z.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of fighting.
Cowboy Bebop is more dark than Yu Hakusho.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Although I would say that the trailer looks like it's a little more gritty though than you described.
It seems like because it's a spirit detective, they're incorporating a little bit more of the undead or the supernatural or demonic side into it, but it doesn't look too. It looks like Buffy the Vampire Slayer levels of scary than like The Conjuring. It was really good anime. It had a really good ending. It got picked up and announced by Netflix a couple years ago. This show releases December 14th. And
next month.
People are very skeptical about it because of the handling of Cowboy Bebop.
They canceled it before I even got to watch the first season. So I was like, forget it.
Cowboy Bebop is a 90s anime.
Very good.
They both, Yu Hakusho and Cowboy Bebop, both ran on Toonami at the same time.
Oh, that's probably why this name sounds familiar. Yeah. I was a Toonami kid for sure.
They both ran on Toonami at the same time. Cowboy Bebop is one of the most popular Western animes in history, but Netflix kind of fumbled it on the live adaptation of it.
They just didn't even get a chance to breathe.
Yeah, Netflix was on there. We're canceling everything after 2 seasons. After one season.
They don't even let people get to the 1 season.
Netflix has this thing where if enough people don't watch episode 1, they're never gonna renew the show ever again.
Give people a chance to watch it. So when you said this was a series, I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
I hope it makes it because Netflix will chop it without even letting people watch it.
So, because I didn't really explain what the show is about, outside of the spirit detective part, it's mostly centered around martial arts. So he's a spirit detective. He also encounters other people who are spirit detectives or just have like their own like supernatural abilities, and they have their own side plot. So he basically there's him and there is 3 other people with him, and they form a team basically, and they work together, and they're all like around the same age.
Okay. I didn't pick that up from the trailer that he was on a team.
Yeah, because he starts out by himself. After he becomes a spirit detective and gets into like the world of like solving supernatural cases, he meets these other acquaintances. Kind of like Cowboy Bebop, where they kind of just pick up people along the way.
Okay.
It's kind of the same with Yu.
Ragtag team.
But it's focused on like the martial arts. I really like the martial arts in the trailer, and I'm excited about it.
It looks good.
And it looks like it's fully in Japanese.
I hope the fans get what they want, and I hope Netflix gives fans a chance to watch it.
I will say this. I think you should, even though you don't want to,
Want to what?
Should at least watch the first episode of Cowboy Bebop.
The only reason why I didn't watch the live action, because you told me to watch the original, so I watched the whole original and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, let me now get into it before I even got a chance. Netflix was like, season 1's over.
Yeah. Yu Hakusho, I think you'll really like. It's really good. It is more than just about him being a spear detective, but it's also about him realizing that after he died, there's a couple episodes where he realizes like, oh, this is the impact that I had in people's life. And he comes back to life and he changes and wants to be a better person. Okay. But it's hard to do that. So it's really good. It explores a lot of things.
The ending of Cowboy Bebop definitely sits with you for sure.
Yu Hakusho, I will say, has a good ending. Next trailer and last on the list is Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is the second attempt at a live adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you recall, the first one was...
Don't tell me. That was an M. Night Shyamalan.
The horrible M. Night Shyamalan movie.
At least I knew who it was.
That came out maybe 10 years ago?
Has it been that long?
It has to have been 10 years ago.
It's definitely old.
I think that movie came out when I was like in high school.
Oh, wow. Is it that old? I knew that it was his movie because people don't talk well about that particular version of the movie.
Yeah, that movie came out in 2010. So 13 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Critically panned. It currently sits at a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes.
There's no way it's that bad.
It has a critic score of 5% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 30% audience score.
I believe the audience score more than I believe. That's just my general thing anyway. I believe audiences score more than I believe critics score.
Audiences hated it.
Right, but you can't... There's 5% and 30 is it. 30 is I could at least went and watched the whole thing. 5% is I had to cut it off. But anyway.
What's very interesting about this is
these adaptations cost some money.
This show is a reboot. It's a reboot.
Because they're telling it from the ground up.
Original cartoon from Nickelodeon, which is 2005. And for people who might try to say that Avatar: The Last Airbender is an anime, it is not an anime. It borrows anime influences, but it is classified as
just an American cartoon.
American cartoon.
Okay, I'm about to get sidetracked. Castlevania is an anime. No.
It is an anime.
It is.
It is an anime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sidetrack. You can go back.
But Avatar: The Last Airbender is not.
It's not. Okay.
So, and I don't know. I'm not like, I didn't make the rules. This is how the creators define it. They don't define it as anime. They define it as a television show. Okay. So the people who made Castlevania define it as anime. So maybe the rule is whoever makes it gets to choose.
Okay. I like that. That's better.
It is currently only going to drop for one season. That's typical, just to see how it goes. It's going to have an 8-episode run. Don't have details on how long the episodes are going to be, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be an hour.
This is Netflix too, right?
Yeah. And that's typical. When you decrease the season length, you increase the episode length. So it's probably going to be an hour per episode.
I would think.
Cartoon, I believe, were 30-minute episodes. Two very interesting tidbits. It's reportedly cost $15 million per episode for Netflix to make this show.
That's a lot.
Looking at it because the trailer just shows flashes of things that you would only recognize if you watched the cartoon. So you're just seeing flashes of... There's no dialogue. Like, none of the characters speak to each other or narrate the trailer at all. Right.
We're looks just good, though.
Seeing the characters. We're seeing Sokka. We're seeing Aang. We're seeing Katara. I'm just naming people that you wouldn't know if you did not watch Avatar. So a premise of what Avatar is, there are... Not
to be confused with James Cameron's Avatar, by the way.
Right. This is not Avatar with blue people.
No, this is a totally different thing.
This is Avatar with its multicultural talent.
There you go.
So Avatar is a story about... I don't know if it takes place on Earth, but in this world, there are 4 nations that are all divided by the 4 elements. Fire, water, earth, air. Fire is known for destruction. Naturally. So the Fire Nation is all about conquering as much territory and enslaving as many people as possible. Typical. The Air Nation doesn't exist because they're all extinct.
Okay.
The nation you belong to determines what abilities you have. So if you're a Fire Nation, you have the ability to manipulate fire. If you live in the water, earth, air, you have the ability to manipulate that specific element. The earth people are extinct, and it's called Avatar because every generation there is one airbender who is reincarnated to represent the air nation.
Okay.
And they are called the Avatar because this one person who's resurrected every generation has the ability to bend all elements. So they can, this Avatar can bend, is the only person who can manipulate air, but can also manipulate
all the other
fire, water, and earth. And the series follows this latest reincarnation, which is a little boy who was the last airbender.
Gotcha.
And the show follows him and two water-bending friends of his as they travel to each nation from place to place and try to get him to learn how to manipulate all of the other elements so that he can stop the Fire Nation's war and save the world.
Oh, I never knew that's what it was about.
Yeah.
Now, how did M. Night Shyamalan jack that up? Anyway, go ahead.
It's one of those cases where you hire a director who doesn't care about the source material. They only care about how they can tell their own type of story.
That would be this Airbender. I mean, Avatar had to be his most different movie.
And it's really weird because the M. Night Shyamalan movie hit all of the major key points. So it was technically accurate, but it was just so bad. Okay. It was so bad. He casted all white people for a show that features exclusively just Asian people. Or you know what? No, I'm sorry. He casted Asian people, but he only casted Asian people to play the villains. He race bent all of the heroes from Asian to white.
Now Shyamalan, he know better than that.
And
he should have known better, I should say.
Horrible CGI, horrible production, horrible acting. I don't think any of those actors are anywhere now. Dang. And that's what they deserve. That was bad. The last interesting tidbit on this is, so Avatar was created in 2005 by two people, Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko.
Looks right. I'm going to trust you did that.
They created the original cartoon, had an amazing run, acquired a lot of fandom, took it to Netflix, made the deal, began production. They left production of this show in 2020. These are people who made the show.
Yeah, the people who made the show didn't like the way things were going and bounced.
They said Netflix was, it's very funny now I think about it because this is the same thing the Witcher guy said about Netflix. But they said that Netflix has this thing where they just acquire properties and do what they want. And they sell you, they draw you in and sell you in it on how much creative control you'll have. And then they pull the rug out from under you. So they did the same thing to these two dudes who made Avatar. They left. Netflix was like, well, fine, we're going to go ahead and hire new people and keep going with production.
So that's going to be interesting.
So this is the finished product of a show that had a certain percentage worked on by, and I don't know if they scrapped everything that the original creators worked on, but
I mean, they probably paid them and then they left.
I wonder if you'll be able to see the difference when watching the show when the original showrunners left or when they stopped using that stuff.
Sometimes you can. Sometimes when shows do that, you can tell where the drop off happened. You're like, oh, this explains it.
DiMartino and Konietzko went to Paramount after they left Netflix and created Avatar Studios. So where they plan to do their own Avatar storytelling. So that's why earlier I said when we watched this trailer, I said earlier, if this turns out to be bad, it's okay because we're going to get another one.
You're right.
I think they're just going to make their own Avatar.
I mean, they own it.
Over there. So they own it.
It's good. I'm glad they didn't sell the rights to it. Because then they wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, so
smart people.
And they've done plenty of stuff since the original cartoon aired. It's got a follow-up show where they did the all grown up thing that they did with Rugrats, where they aged up all the characters and made them adults. They jumped a couple generations ahead and showed the descendants. So it's had spinoffs that have been really successful as well too. It has a really big fandom. I'm not excited about it because I'm still a little skeptical because of all you let the creators of the show who made it gold go.
If it's gonna be people are not gonna watch it because they know the creators aren't supporting it anymore.
There will be some people, but I think curiosity is going to kill the cat, and more people are still going to watch it anyway just because they just want to see if it's worth.
I mean, at the end of the day, it might also
it could be good.
It could give credence to whatever the creators do over at Paramount.
It could be good. And what it will also do is it will help, you're right, the creators at Paramount, because after people are done watching these 8 episodes, they're going to want to see what DiMartino and Konietzko are doing on their side. So, yeah. The actors' strike is over. You want to do this one?
It's done. Yeah. So Wednesday, I think it might have been after. Well, it might have been night for us, but in California, it was probably early evening. But the strike is officially over. Everybody can go back to work.
And they did immediately.
That at Thursday at 12:01 Pacific time, everybody was allowed to go back. All the actors were allowed to promote their movies, start their movies. I noticed that a lot of people whose shows, and like Journey Smollett posted about the burial because she couldn't.
There were so many memes floating all over Twitter of people making jokes about, studio heads calling up the actors, waking them up, yanking them out of bed, telling them to get to work. And it's literally, you would see.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
People just in front of their camera phones or sitting, like Ki Kwan from Loki was sitting in front of what looked like a MacBook camera.
Right.
And was talking about Loki. It looked like they.
Selfie did it too.
It looks like they woke Brie Larson up. And she just was like, let me throw on something black. And she went to Times Square to surprise some people at the Marvel showing.
Her and Amon have been doing surprise showings at the at theaters.
Did you watch the Captain Marvel one? It looks like they called her, was like, throw your hair in a bun, put you on something black real quick and go down to Times Square and surprise some moviegoers. So she went down there. She goes into the theater and she's talking to them. And she FaceTime calls Samuel L. Jackson. Okay. And he's just sitting at home.
Chilling.
She turns the camera around to the crowd and puts the mic up to the phone so he can talk to the crowd to him. Like, they're literally on the fly telling y'all to get to work.
Amon is going to be on one of the late night shows on Wednesday. So they literally, they were like,
I think they threw.
It's time to go.
They threw Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson on the Tonight Show like the day of.
No, they were on it last night.
Yeah.
So literally the premiere day of the Marvels, they were like, they moved people out of the way. Like we ain't got time. They changed
the schedule.
We got the schedule to change. We need to get these actors in here. Here's some money to do it.
So all of a sudden, you haven't seen actors in like 100 days outside of being on the picking line. And now all of a sudden, the whole timeline is bombarded with like actors uploading videos and behind the scenes stuff.
The choreographer Fatima from The Color Purple, she posted like the press tour about to be on and popping now because now we can actually promote our movie. So they literally woke the actors up in the middle of the night and was like, "Is y'all ready? Are you rested? Because it's time to get
It's time to go."
So yeah, immediately after the strike was over, which was official November 9th, which was Thursday. A lot of movies are now going back into production. I think it was Deadline posted an article that said Deadpool 3, which is supposed to be 50% complete, Gladiator 2, Beetlejuice 2, which I forgot about, Stranger Things last season, and Mortal Kombat 2
which I heard was very far along.
Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, Mortal Kombat 2 was was I think halfway done.
Okay. Yeah. All those movies were announced that they are like starting up ASAP.
Yeah.
All those are sequels. Now that I'm looking at that.
Yeah, they're all sequels.
Every last one of them.
Or part of some type of existing franchise like Stranger Things. Yeah.
Right. Another announcement came out that Superman Legacy, which is the first entry into the new first movie entry into the new DCEU. They didn't even start yet. They are supposed to start filming in March. I think James Gunn has already written that.
I wonder if there's been any writing changes.
Now,
because of the current climate.
Probably. But they're not starting to shoot until March, so they'll probably be able to keep their schedule. Unlike, in addition to all the movies that started production, there was
so this was bittersweet news for the comic book space.
It was a nice big old wave of delays that came out the very next day. So Venom got delayed to November 8th of 2024. I think it was originally supposed to come out in like July of next year. The more impactful one that's got me wincing and my eye twitching is the Marvel slate. So Deadpool. So here was funny. They were like, Ryan Reynolds, who posted the very next day after the strike was over. I don't know if that man even waited. He might have waited till like 12:02. posted a picture talking about, oh yeah, Deadpool is definitely coming out this summer. Now I realized he didn't really say summer is a few months. He ain't really say like what month in summer. But sure enough, later on that day, Deadpool got moved from May to July next year. And everything else in the Marvel slate got moved to 2025.
Yes.
So Captain America 4 went from July 2024 to February 2025. Thunderbolts went from December 2024 to July 2025. Blade, which has already been pushed back like 3 times, went from February 2025 to November 2025. So we will literally only have one Marvel movie all of next year.
I think it's very...
That's it, Jared. That's it.
I think
there's nothing else.
It's very interesting that the only MCU movies that got pushed back 2025 are the ones that all have like rumored issues with the writing or production of it.
Well, we haven't heard much about Thunderbolts.
Haven't heard much about Thunderbolts other than the fact that
it has to come after. I feel like it has to come after Captain America 4.
So I've heard that
tied in.
I've heard that Thunderbolts is having some writing issues.
Oh, is it?
Specifically around the villain.
Oh, okay.
They're having some issues with writing around the villain.
Who is Sentry, right?
Who is Sentry. He's like a man-made Superman. Superpowers in the comic books came together and was like, we need to make our own superhero. Okay. And they basically made a mentally unstable Superman.
Hey.
So everybody's favorite. So I heard it has some writing issues. Captain America 4 is the only one to have like actual details as far as writing issues. They said that it's going through extensive rewrites. 3 major sequences are being scrapped. It's got extensive reshoots planned. So that movie sounded like it was going to be a mess.
Well, and this was the most done movie. That's why this was the bigger shocker, because Captain America 4 is supposed to be like pretty much done.
And I don't find that surprising, because the rumors around the plot of Captain America just sounded like it had way too much going on.
Yep.
It was about Sam being Captain America for the first time. It was about him getting a new sidekick. It was about the Hulks. It was about Hulks. Harrison Ford being the Red Hulk. It was about Liv Tyler coming back.
Somebody else is coming
back. Mark Ruffalo
back.
might have been in it.
Besides, somebody else from the Hulk is coming back.
She-Hulk was going to be in it.
Oh, I didn't even hear that one. But obviously, if you got the Hulks, you can't leave She-Hulk out.
Israeli, Captain America, it was going to address the giant celestial in the middle of the ocean.
Yep.
A lot of people said it was going to have something to do with adamantium. So, you know what? I don't find it surprising. I think they should cut out about 6 of those things and keep the story tight.
It's not great to hear.
Keep the Hulks.
Right. It's not great to hear that it's not looking good, but it is great to hear that they decided that we're going to do something about it.
And this is a black superhero. Like,
we need to get it right.
Do it correctly.
We need to fix this and make sure it's good.
Yeah.
I'm more lamenting at the fact that next year all we getting is Echo, and we're getting Echo in January, and it's all coming out at once.
I feel a little bit better about Echo.
But it's literally in 2 months. It's all coming out at once. We're not getting anything else until July, and then we're not getting anything else for the rest of the year.
What are we gonna do? 2024 is a great year to pick up a comic book and prepare yourself for the upcoming stories.
Because here, let me say something else. I think if they keep the schedule as is, Deadpool is the only one that comes out in 2024. 2025, however, will have Captain America 4. Was not on here because it didn't move, was Fantastic Four. Thunderbolts and Blade all in 1 year. Do you really think they're going to do all 4 in 1 year? Somebody moving.
These movies are going to get moved.
I think Thunderbolts is moving. Blade might stay, but I think Thunderbolts is going to get pushed back. Or Fantastic Four gets pushed back. They're not doing 4 movies in 1 year.
I think Thunderbolts is moving. I think Thunderbolts is going to require a little bit more work. I don't think they're going to move.
They haven't started yet, right?
No, not shooting. No, I think they're just writing for Thunderbolts and casting.
Okay.
Because they casted Sentry. That's the last art of it. I don't think they're going to move Blade again because they're afraid they're going to lose Mahershala.
No,
I think Blade, as far as priority, I think Blade is moving up or at least staying solid.
Yeah, I was going to say that's why there's 4 planned movies in 2025. If I think at least one will move, and I think it'll be Thunderbolts.
And it's very interesting what you said about Fantastic Four.
Or Fantastic Four.
We were supposed to get the Fantastic Four cast announcement when the strike ended, because that's what they said.
Somebody went back and tweeted the tweet that says that it's coming.
Said.
And everybody was like, oh no.
Shankman, who's the director of the Fantastic Four.
The world's about to end. Mm-hmm. This is going to be crazy. Who's going to break the internet? So yes, when that's what he said. We don't know when. We just going to wake up one day, or we're going to be eating our lunch, and it's going to be like fantastic news.
Well, they said as soon as the strike ended. The strike's been over for a couple days.
You said y'all had 24 hours to respond.
Then it was, oh, we'll announce it at the end of the week, and we're on Saturday. The best time to do it was after the strike ended.
Yeah.
That could have been the bookend to the strike is over.
They're probably waiting until like Marvel's is out. You know, Loki and Marvel came out this week. They need to stretch out the good news a little longer, and they probably gonna release it. And then the internet is gonna crash, and we'll have to talk about it on the podcast.
Lastly, Kevin Feige did confirm that the secret MCU project that they're working with Scarlett Johansson on is still in development. Mm-hmm. Has no name, has no date. I do think it's female centered.
I'm pretty
woman-centered?
Probably with Scarlett for sure.
And it's supposed to be MCU. So it could be an A-Force movie?
You think it's a movie? You don't think it's like a TV show? It's probably a movie.
If it's Scarlett Johansson, it's a movie.
I was just going to say...
Scarlett Johansson only does things that matter. She does. I don't think she's ever done anything TV related.
No, now that I'm thinking about it. As soon as that left my mouth, I was like... No, it's not a TV show, mainly because I don't think they're going to be making any more TV shows. Like, if it's not announced...
Oh, no, absolutely
I don't think Marvel is... They put in a TV... Outside of Daredevil, I think anything that hasn't been announced TV-wise or hasn't started ain't making it.
Yeah. Outside of the MCU, Scarlett Johansson only does, like, things that are going to the Oscars.
Yeah, you're right.
So, Scarlett doesn't do TV.
I'm curious of what she's going to do with that.
And Marvel doesn't have a lot of female-led teams or centered products. Like, they don't have a lot of women superhero team-ups in comics other than A-Force.
Hint, hint, Marvel.
You know, women in comics are a lot more popular than women superheroes in movies, probably because of how they're drawn or the fact that they're written by men. But
don't get me on that soapbox.
It could be A-Force. I'd be interested in seeing A-Force, especially after seeing the Marvels. Mm-hmm. I think the Marvels was before we get into the review of it.
Yeah.
I think the Marvels was a great movie about just women superheroes without falling into any tropes.
No tropes, really.
No tropes at all. Mm-hmm. So if they can do that with something else and even more and expand the cast list, maybe have more female superheroes, I'd be okay with that. I'm
very curious of what it is, and also when is it coming out, because 2020
and this is not on the slate.
2025 is booked clearly, which means we're not getting Avengers movies until 2026,
and that's okay.
Fine.
I think that's okay. Fine. I think they still need a little bit more time.
You're right.
To sell everybody on the roster.
It's going to be so quiet next year, Jerry. What are we going to do?
You know what? That's okay. You know what it'll be very loud with? It'll be very loud with DC stuff.
They're not coming out with anything next year either.
Isn't Creature Commandos coming out next year?
I think they're both 2025.
Well, you know what? 2024 will be the year of people on Twitter finding something else to dislike, because they won't be able to dislike comic book movies because there won't be any.
Man, they'll
have to find something else to make the bane of their existence.
So yeah, my soul will be... A little piece will be missing because there won't be any Marvel content.
But think in February 2025, it'll be a whole year since you've heard that Marvel theme.
Listen, I will never forget when we went to go see Black Widow in the theaters and we hadn't heard that Marvel intro in so long. I was like, it's like sweet music to my ears. So yes, it will probably definitely be like that, or we just gonna have to rewatch old stuff to get our feel. So We'll see. So are we ready to get into Loki? So Loki season 2 came out on October 5th. Mm-hmm. It was only 6 episodes. They were about 50 minutes long. They were a little longer than some of the other, like Secret Invasion had some 35.
Yeah, more of them were over the 50-minute mark.
Right, which was good because it needed all its room to breathe. But this was the second and presumably final season of Loki. It doesn't appear, and it needs to be for good reason, doesn't need another season. So I'm pretty sure Tom Hiddleston on the late night show the other day said this was like this season was the end of his 14-year journey of being Loki.
Yeah.
And we're like, end in quotation marks, Tom. We know how this works.
So the summary of this season is it picks up exactly where season 1 left off. After Sylvie has killed He Who Remains, played by Jonathan Majors, who is the original of the Kang variants. I guess. We don't know for sure. That's not confirmed, but this show gives us the idea that
he's the one who's most in control
of the timeline. He's the Kang that's in control of the timelines.
We'll put it that way.
After she kills him, the timelines, basically what's holding them together, falls apart and they start to split and multiply. So Loki takes it as his mission to regather everybody, all of the cast, in addition to Sylvie, and find a way to save the timelines.
And the TVA. Before we get too far, we are spoiling this through and through. So if you haven't seen it, just go to your time codes and skip.
Yeah.
So Loki, this whole season is about Loki trying to save the TVA so that they can save the Loom and save all the timelines. But I guess they don't want to do any more pruning. So of course in season 1 of Loki, we learned that if a timeline branches off, they prune it, which AKA kill. They kill the people in the timeline. And that keeps the sacred timeline intact. Everything's nice. Everything's in order. But when He Who Remains gets killed, all that goes out of whack. But as a result of that, they don't want to go back to pruning. They want all these timelines to be able to continue to flow.
So the show picks up this season where Loki has a new ability called time slipping. And basically it just gives him the ability to jump to himself in different points in time. An infinite amount of times.
And I guess that when we first see him do it, it's not, I wouldn't call it an ability. It's an affliction.
Yeah, it seems like it's an affliction at first. And it seems like it's just something he picked up from having been at the end of time. The rule for that is he can only jump to points in time where he's been. So he can't just go anywhere in the world at any point in time. He can only jump to his own body at any other point in time that he's already been in. Right. And I don't think he can go to the future because he never goes to the...
He does go to the future once.
Where does he go to the future?
He went to the future when he was in a loom room, and remember when Mobius wrote skin on the thing? He goes into...
Well, he was there. So technically wasn't he was there when Mobius wrote Scan.
The first couple episodes, as far as Loki's time slipping, is not, just roll with it. Yeah. Don't try to figure out.
Yeah, they explain it at the end, so don't rack your head trying to figure out how it works.
Just roll with it. And as always with anything that's time jumping, time multiversal related, you gotta kind of use your imagination and just roll with it.
So characters we got Loki.
Yep.
We got Sylvie.
Yep.
We got B-15. We have Casey. And we have Mobius, who is Owen Wilson.
Yes.
So,
and OB.
And, well, I'm going to get to OB.
Got you.
So they come up with a plan. Basically, the only way to save the timelines is to increase the capacity of the loom. And they'd have no idea where to start with that. So they go find OB, who is one of the oldest members at the TVA.
And we find it out in a very funny way.
He's been there. He works downstairs where the reactor is. He's been there for like 300 years. 400 years. He seems to be the only one who remembers everything.
Correct.
Everybody only has people who work at the TVA only have memories of the TVA. He has only memories of the TVA, but he has memories of the TVA
a sense of time.
since its inception.
Right.
Because he wrote the TVA handbook that everybody has used for this infinite amount of time. So they go find OB to get ideas on how to increase the capacity of the loom to keep all of the timelines from busting
and killing everybody.
Killing everybody.
And the TVA.
And that is pretty much most of episode 2. OB tells them the only way to stop the loom from blowing up is to find Miss Minutes again, who's from season 1. She is the artificial intelligence that runs the TVA and operates the loom.
Right. So they're trying to find Miss Minutes to help them stop. Because they're trying, they're tinkering on like computers and trying to log into stuff, but they can't because they don't have basically the authorization to do it.
Basically, Miss Minutes has pulled an Ultron and went bad. And she's linked up with Ravonna Renslayer, who used to run the TVA.
She was like the vice president of the TVA.
Yes, but we didn't know that there was somebody. We didn't know that there was He Who Remains behind the scenes actually running it. So
until like the last episode,
she's like the de facto boss of the TVA.
Yes,
she is also. Well, she's not a robot, but she pulled an Ultron. And they linked up and they're like, we're bad guys. We're going to help restore He Who Remains and take back control of the TVA while Loki and the rest of the TVA people are trying to do whatever they're trying to do and save the timelines.
They were both trying to save the TVA, but with different motives and different
One was trying to save the TVA and one was trying to control the TVA.
Exactly.
So after they realize Ravonna and Miss Minutes are lost causes because they're evil, they're like, great, what's the next best thing? Obi's like, well, you can go back in time and find the original Kang variant who created the loom.
Yep.
When that leads us back to 1893.
We go way back.
Where they go to London and they find the original Kang variant played by Jonathan Majors. His name is Victor Timely, and he is the one who created the loom that He Who Remains uses to create.
Oh, they don't go to London. They go to Chicago. It's the Chicago.
It is Chicago. Yep, it looks like London, but
it does have that.
They all had that same like old timey look.
Feel right.
But they go to Chicago. You know what? That makes sense. Why were there so many? Maybe just that actors' accents.
Now here's where you might have got confused. They shot this in London.
That's why. Yes. Okay. I was like, why does this look like
they shot it in London, but the
Werewolf of London.
but the place setting is in Chicago.
Okay. Yep. So I was right.
You were technically
So they go to London.
Chicago, London.
They find Victor Timely. They stop Sylvie from killing him.
They do.
Because she's still trying to kill him.
Yes, Sylvie is still on a mission to get rid of any versions of He Who Remains. She don't care.
Because she's not convinced that He Who Remains is necessary for all of existence
TVA,
to stay around.
Exactly. And she's very bent on, you have to kill every version of him so he doesn't rise to power to be like He Who Remains. And you don't need him. You just need to let the timelines do what they do and let people live. Which she's right, but the loom that was created to hold all the timelines can't hold all that.
Yeah, so she's technically right. They still have to solve the loom problem.
Yes.
Sure, everybody should have free will, but there's no free will if we don't fix this machine that keeps us all together.
And they're not pruning. They have a stance of we're not pruning any of these timelines.
And they're no longer pruning. And they kind of don't even revisit the topic. They're like, nope, pruning is done. All season 1 was like pruning stick. All of this season you barely saw a pruning stick.
There was one part where one of the hunters goes rogue and prunes a bunch of they set bombs off in a bunch of different branches. So they get rid of a bunch of branches, but it doesn't work. One, you just commit mass murder. That's not right. Two,
every individual choice creates a new reality.
The branches start growing back.
Yeah.
So it didn't even work.
Yeah.
So pruning is pretty much not a thing in this whole season.
So they convince Sylvie the Victor Timely is necessary to keep alive.
And he's a pretty innocent guy. Like, I don't know if innocent is the word. He's very much like, I don't know what you talking about in terms of me being bad.
He's the audience.
Yeah.
He's like the audience character who doesn't understand the plot that's happening around. So they kind of have to be introduced to everything all over again. And I like that aspect of it. He was the only person he was the smartest person in the room, but he had no idea what was going on.
He was most not naive, but he was most ignorant to what was happening. And it
was very fun watching them try to explain to him that he created all of this.
Right.
And
or version of
he
him.
Just didn't do it yet. And it was fun watching him be excited about all of these things that would come to pass because of him.
Right.
He was excited about, this little invention that he made, which was the loom, which was like the size of a microwave when he first created it.
Yep.
And his idea was just to use it to power cities.
Yeah, he was thinking more of power.
Electricity.
Yeah, he was thinking of like power, electricity,
improving the power grid of the world.
And the bigger version or the other version of him literally used it to control all time.
Control all time. So when they're explaining to him, like, yeah, this little luminous trade, it controls all of time, and we're at war. It's just a
prototype.
And there's versions of yourselves that are like terrorists. And it was just funny watching him absorb all of that in, but still have to be like, okay, I'm the hero. Yeah. Right. So I like the aspect of him. I like the fact that Victor Timely was, we're doing spoilers. Yep. By the way, I like the fact that Victor Timely was good.
I was waiting for him to turn bad.
I was waiting for the double cross.
I was waiting. And I was like, man, eventually I like him, and it's going to suck when he finally turns, but he never turned.
He never turned. He was the good, and I'm not sure if he's the one good variant, because there are a lot of Kang variants in comics, but
right.
He was the one good variant in the show. So I really did enjoy that.
Yep.
Also, while they're trying to convince Sylvie to not kill him, they also have to stop Renslayer and Miss Minutes from abducting him and using
to get the loom working.
To get the loom working themselves. And it's they all have the same goal of
keeping things the way they are, kind of.
Much. They want to do different things with the TVA, but they all want to fix the loom. They all just want to be the first to fix the loom so they can control what happens
because
with
they
it.
know if the loom breaks, everybody dies. So at the very least, everybody needs to at least try to save the loom.
Right.
Or so we think.
So then we get into episode 4, Heart of the TVA, where we find out that He Who Remains was working with Renslayer to basically gather up all the timelines to make them one sacred timeline. He used Renslayer to help him do that. Once he did it and achieved it, he wiped everybody's memories, including Renslayer's, so they didn't have any memory of who he was or what their past lives were or what they contributed to make the TVA what it was. Only he literally remained. Back to the loom. Loki, they've gotten Victor Timely together. They've come up with a plan. They're going to expand. They're going to make the loom bigger. So that it can handle
all the timelines,
increased capacity of timelines, and save. And that way everybody can coexist.
Save the day, essentially.
Right. So they
don't go well.
They create this device that's supposed to help expand throughput multiplier.
Right. Which Victor Timely's already made a prototype of. So they bring him back.
But he didn't know what it was for.
Correct.
Right.
They bring him back and he's like, oh, I created this thing. And Obi's like, well, that's exactly what we need. So they work to make a bigger version of it. To use for the current loom, and it don't work.
Yeah. So they basically realized they took too long. The radiation in the temporal loom was way too high. So when they sent Jonathan Majors as Victor Timely out there to go fix it, he immediately spaghettied.
The most shocking scene for me.
He immediately dies as soon as he hits the radiation wave.
He literally turns into like pasta and spaghetti.
Yeah, his whole body disintegrates into like strings.
Insides and all that getting toe up. And it's funny because I actually rewound it because I was so shocked. Like I was like, wait, does this just happen? And his scream, he sounds like he's in such pain. But yeah, it don't work. And that's how the episode ends, I'm pretty sure. And they all just looking like, did he just die? What happened? And that episode ends with we panned in on Loki's face and he's just like devastated.
Yeah, it kind of follows the Disney Plus show episode 4 trend.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
Because in WandaVision, episode 4 was we interrupt this program. And in that episode, we find out that Wanda is aware of the fact that she created the reality inside Westview. I think she shoots Monica Rambeau out the house, and we find out that Vision's body is dead.
Yes. Ooh, that Dead Vision was a sight. Yeah. Dead Vision and spaghettified Victor Timely will never leave my brain. Yeah. Ever.
Yeah. So that's how the episode 4 ends. So basically they fail and the loom explodes and erases. We think it erases all of existence, but we find out in episode 5 is that it just sends all the TVA employees back to their original lives. In their original timelines?
It seems like the explosion of the loom sent everybody back to where they were before He Who Remains plucked them from their timelines.
Yeah. So so the loom exploding reset all of time, and it sent everybody back to their original lives before they were abducted by the TVA and made TVA hunters.
Yep.
Loki's like, great, I have to go back around and regather all these people up, because he finds the original Obi variant, and who's also a scientist.
Science fiction writer
and physicist.
Right.
And he tells them the only way to get back to your original time is to do two things. One, you have to control your time slipping. Two, you have to get all of your previous friends back together, because you're going to need all of their auras to tell you where to go back in time before the explosion. Right. So we go through the episode of Loki gathering up all of his friends, which I really liked. We got to see Owen Wilson was his character, even though he has no memory of his original life. Mobius always talks about speedboats.
Jet skis.
Yep. And we get to see him in his original life where he's a jet ski salesman. Yep. So it makes sense. And he's a dad with like 2 kids. We got the
scene of him on a jet ski. Not in water, but it's still on a jet ski.
But he lives in Cleveland, so he's near water.
There you go.
We get to see B-15, who's a doctor in her original life.
Yep.
Casey, who is in prison, but
Alcatraz. Not just a regular prison. Casey is in Alcatraz.
More specifically, he's Frank Morse.
I was just like, that's hilarious.
So he's in Alcatraz. That's his original self. And he goes to get Sylvie.
Yeah, who's living her life like
it's golden, because Sylvie is not affected by the time reset. She still has all her memories. She knows that all of time was reset.
Sylvie was not plucked from a timeline like Kane was. Remember, because she's been on the run. Right. So there would be no reason for her to lose her memory.
And Loki kind of semi-exist out of time. So they're not affected, not all the time. Sometimes Sylvie's affected when Loki time slips, but she's not affected by the loom.
In the memory wiping.
Right. So he goes to find Sylvie, and Sylvie's like, yeah, I remember the loom blowing up. And everybody's back to their regular lives. She's like, I know everything that's going on.
That episode was good, but we get 2 things in that one. One, when we get to Sylvie in that scene, we're still working at McDonald's, which is crazy. But her food and her drink disappear.
And she doesn't notice.
I think she does notice.
It happened when she looked away, and she didn't notice until, because I thought too. I was like, girl, don't you notice the stuff disappearing?
Yeah, you see your thing going away.
But I think she got distracted by Loki showing up.
Okay.
Because I did think so too, but it would confirm that she did not know what was happening when she's sitting in the record store, and the record store is spaghettis. Then she goes back to Loki and was like, there's nowhere to go.
But wait, there was another scene where they were sitting at a bar having a drink. Somebody highlighted this. Oh, I think it was a New Rockstars breakdown. They were both taking shots of whatever. Loki's shot disappeared. He went to go pick it up and it's gone.
Oh, did he notice?
I don't think he knew what was happening. I think she realized she knew, but I don't think Loki, because he goes to pick it up and he's like, well, maybe.
Well, then that's weird why she would show up and be like, oh, everything's disappearing. There's nowhere else to go.
Because
didn't you know that? Sylvie's
whole thing was just let things happen and let people be free. But I think she finally had to realize, girl, it's not going to work that way. Like, you killed He Who Remains. Everything is jacked up, and now we got to fix it. And if we don't fix it, we are going to die.
So when he goes to get Sylvia and tell her what's going on, she's like, yeah, I know. Everybody, it reset time. It sent everybody in the TVA back to their original lives. She was like, just leave them there.
Right.
Because they deserve
kind of
to.
A good point there.
And she did. She was like, they deserve to have a great life. And I would agree with her if all of existence wasn't ending, because they weren't going to have great lives. They were just going to die anyway.
Slowly see all the spaghettification.
So
happening.
After she finally wakes up to the fact that all of existence is ending, she's like, okay, I'm back on board. So Loki gets everybody back together. He finally controls his time slipping. He finds out it's not about, because we get a montage of him working with OB to try to control his time slipping and figure out how to get it working. And we find out that he has to think about who he wants to travel to, not where or when.
Right. So before he gets to that moment, though, everything disappears.
So he realizes if he wants to get back to that point, he needs to focus on Victor Timely.
I don't know who the Who was specifically. I think the Who might have changed depending on what his objective was.
Because he pops up when he pops up, he's with Mobius and Victor Timely right before he goes down the stairs.
Right. Well, and the Who might have just been his friends.
So he might have been thinking just about all of them.
Yeah, right. Saving all of them. Because that was his thing. He didn't want to be alone.
Right. So he finally controls his time slipping, gets back to right before Victor Timely runs out to try to save the loom.
Yep.
And that is where we get to episode 6, which is the last episode, Glorious Purpose, which is the same title as episode 1 of season 1.
Yep.
So we're at our full circle moment. And this is probably my favorite episode of this series.
Yes, I would agree.
As a whole.
I would agree.
So Loki gets back. And we get this episode, most of this whole episode is the Dormammu I've come to bargain moment.
Or the
from
Edge
Doctor
of Tomorrow.
Strange. It's a little bit of Endgame and it's a little bit of Doctor Strange 1.
Yes.
Where in Doctor Strange 1, Doctor Strange gets control of the Time Stone. Mm-hmm. So it's implied that he did the Dormammu I've come to bargain thing
so many times.
An infinite amount of times in order to stop Dormammu from trying to take over Earth.
Yep.
They do the same thing here with Loki where he does the time slipping an infinite amount of times.
So many times.
To go back and try to redo the mission to save the loom.
Uh-huh.
And it results in the same thing.
And they don't tell us how many times, but they basically reset because he's like, every time it fails, he's like, again.
Yeah.
Again. Faster. Do it again. Do it again. There's even one point where he asks OB, how long would it take for me to learn everything you learned? Mm-hmm. And he's like, decades. And Victor Timely's like, actually centuries. So a title card comes up and says, centuries later.
And that's the Endgame thing where in the Endgame it was 5 years later. And at that time it was like, that is insane to jump 5 years.
Nope.
They did centuries.
Loki spent centuries to learn everything OB knew
about physics.
So that he could help them fix this loom once and for all. Mm-hmm. And it technically worked for a little bit. Sort of.
Yeah.
So Victor Timely, they finally get Victor Timely in a suit. They tell him what to do. Loki's like, after we're going over this over and over again, Loki's like, don't set it down. Run faster. Don't do it. Because he's seen him fail so many times. He knows exactly what he needs to do. He's like, the button gets a little sticky. Mm-hmm. Hit the button again.
It's like Edge of Tomorrow, where Tom Cruise went back in time so many times to try to save Emily Blunt. And at that point, he knew every move she was going to make because he had been back to that same point in time over and over and over again. But she kept dying. And he kept trying to figure out how to get further. And it was about getting further, but not actually fixing it.
Which was interesting about that, she eventually picked it up because she was like, how many times have you done this?
Yeah, how many times have I died?
Yeah. So Victor Timely fixes the loom temporarily, and then they realize it's going to break anyway.
Which I don't know why they didn't see earlier, but fine.
Loki should have seen earlier. Remember,
he should have seen that earlier.
They have only lived this once because he keeps going back.
But so basically, they come to the conclusion that because the branching is infinite, every choice creates an alternate timeline. Mm-hmm. So there is no way they can make the loom adjust to an infinite growing number of timelines.
Victor Timely says it's like trying to divide by 0.
He says it's a scaling problem. Mm-hmm. He's like, it's the size of the loom that is the issue, not the power of it.
And then Sylvie says something that triggers Loki. She's like, because I killed He Who Remains, all of these branches are coming.
Well, before we even get there, Loki decides to go back and save He Who Remains. Because before Sylvie says...
I think that's when she says something along the lines of, it's like the branches...
Yeah, she says...
There's enough room for the branches, and Loki goes, oh, I need to go back before you kill He Who Remains.
Right, but she doesn't realize that yet.
No, she does not.
So he realizes, I got to go back to stop you from killing He Who Remains, because that's the only way to keep the branches from splitting.
Because she was the reason why the branches were spilling out, because she killed He Who Remains.
So then we get another extended montage of him constantly trying to stop Sylvie from killing He Who Remains in the final episode of season 1.
Yep, because she has the line where she says, you're gonna have to kill me if you're gonna stop me, you have to kill me.
Yeah.
And we hear that an infinite number of times.
Because he realizes eventually there's no way to stop her from killing Kang. I mean, from killing Who Remains. There's no way to stop her. She's determined. This is her destiny. She's dead set on doing it.
He either has to kill her or let her kill He Who Remains.
So at one point, while he's becoming exhausted with trying to stop Sylvie from killing He Who Remains, He Who Remains gives up the jig and is like, oh yeah, I know that she kills me. And I know that after she kills me, it creates the branching timelines. And I know that
the loom is just
that causes you to time slip.
Yep.
And I know that eventually you will end up right back here.
Yep. The whole season 2, He Who Remains knew.
Yeah. So he's like, I knew that eventually all of this would end up with you right back here. Realizing that you have to keep me alive in order to keep everything together. And it reminded me of Endgame. I said to you, it reminded me of Endgame where Thanos said, you couldn't live with your failure, and that brought you right back to me.
Literally.
And it did.
Loki kept failing and failing and failing. And he thought he was going to solve it by stopping her from killing him. But he was like, that's not even going to work because you can't stop her from killing me unless you kill, like you literally have to kill her because you're not going to be able to talk her out of it.
And he wrote her that way. He says, I'm the one who set you on the path to get the time slipping. I'm the one who set her on the path to kill me. Like there's no way you can stop her from doing it because I set this up.
Another thing I think you might notice is that when he dies in season 1 episode or season 1 season finale, he said, see you soon. And we all assumed he was talking to Sylvie because she's the one who stabs him, and he said see you soon before he like slumps over. He was actually talking to Loki, or maybe both of them, and he was like see you soon because you gonna be right, not see you soon. We all thought he was saying see you soon because he's a variant and we'll just see him in a different variation. No, he was saying see you soon.
You'll be saying me specifically
in this spot right here in my same clothes because you about to be right back here, but go ahead, kill me anyway and we're gonna see.
And I loved it. And it's really bittersweet, the whole Jonathan Majors thing, because he did he was very unsettling. Like when he switched and stopped being like
Mr. Intellectual,
he was just a bad guy. He was a douche.
He was he was such a jerk the way he was talking to Loki, like, go ahead, brother. Or what did he say? Oh, she's okay. Look, he called him lover boy. When he froze Sylvie for them to talk, he was like, she's fine, lover boy. Like, oh, you getting sassy here,
he was like, how many times do you think we've had this conversation?
Yeah.
And then he realizes that it was Loki who pulled the wool over him, who was like, actually, I've been here more times than you because I already learned a lot. I already learned like how to stop time, how to slip through time. So he has a conversation with He Who Remains, and He Who Remains is like, look, you got 2 choices. You can let her kill me and try to find a way to deal with the loom problem without me. Or you can kill her
and then let
me keep doing what I'm doing, because me being here is the only way that's going to keep my variants from waging war across the timelines. Loki says, I'll do you one better.
I'll change the equation.
I'll let the loom blow up. No, Loki said, I'll do you one better. I'll blow the loom up myself. And he tells him that. He's like, I'll destroy the loom. And Kang is like,
that's not going to work.
That's not going to work because you're going to be in the same
Kang
space.
Thinks he knows every, he said, I've seen the end of time. I've seen all the time. He does not account for Loki doing something different.
Right. So Loki goes to Sylvie and tells Sylvie, like, basically the only way to save time is I got to kill you. I have to kill you before you kill Kang. And Sylvie realizes it because she's like, the only way. She's like, I get it. Because I killed Kang. I created this whole mess. You got to kill me.
But she's like, I ain't down for that, though.
She's like, I'm not down for that. But
I actually thought for a minute she was going to be like, okay, let's fight this out or whatever. But she was like, I'm not going to give you permission to kill me. So what you going to do?
But she was the one who gave him the idea of, she told him, like, you can kill me and that's fine, but you still have the Kang situation. He Who Remains is not a good guy. So he's still going to
do whatever he wants.
He's still going to prune all of those people and kill all of those people. You still have to deal with him even after you kill me.
I think her line goes something like that doesn't mean we can't fight. Like, it doesn't mean we shouldn't get the opportunity to fight and stand against him. And it doesn't matter if we die trying to do
she's like, even though we're going to die, like, killing each other is not the way we should go out. We should go out trying to stop him, even if we're going to lose. So I was like, cool, fine. So she gives the idea. Loki's like, oh, okay, I get it. He says, instead of working with what we already have, he said, I need to replace it with something better. Mm-hmm. So Loki goes back to right before the loom explodes with all his friends in the reactor, right before they're about to send Victor Timely out to expand it. Yep. And Loki's like, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. So Loki goes out there.
He doesn't say it. He just has the look.
Yeah, he does the I'm doing the sacrifice play for all of you guys.
Everybody one last look before he goes down into the...
Because he finds out that throughout the show, Loki finds out that what he really cares about most is his friends. Mm-hmm. So, and not being alone and having people.
Right.
So he goes out there and he blows the loom up himself because he is a god and he has the ability to. Right. And they reset Miss Minutes. So,
we don't find that out till way after at the end, though.
Well, no. I mean, when they first killed Miss Minutes.
Oh yeah, Miss Minutes is gone pretty much.
Because we didn't mention earlier in the season, about 2 episodes ago, Renslayer killed a lot of TVA agents.
She tortured them in a torture box and let them get squished.
All of the TVA agents who still wanted to do pruning, they kind of kept like in a holding cell. Mm-hmm. And Renslayer and Miss Minutes snuck in there and tried to convince them to join her side, but they were like,
they went down for it.
They were like, we're evil, but you're super evil. So we're definitely not working with you.
We crooked, but you super crooked.
So she said fine, and she put them all in a time gate box and squished them all and killed them all.
Into goo, and we all heard it. And Miss Minutes enjoyed it.
She committed mass murder.
Sure did.
A couple episodes ago. So they did away with they completely reset.
Renslayer got pruned to the void.
Mm-hmm. And they reset Miss Minutes.
They sure
to where she had no memory of what she had previously done. Yep. But they did imply that she could go down the same path again if they don't keep her eye on her.
They weren't sure when they turned her back on. They were like, we don't know.
But what I was saying was when Loki goes out there to blow up the loom, I was like, why didn't he do that earlier? And I forgot that they said that they couldn't do magic at the TVA before.
Right.
So that's why he couldn't blow up the loom earlier.
Well, and then initially...
Or expand the loom himself earlier.
I just think Loki wasn't at a point to sacrifice himself either. Like through
no.
Season 1, definitely not. In season 2, I think his thought process was like, I want to save my friends and I want to be with my friends. Like if I sacrifice myself, I won't be able to do that. But his line before he goes out, and somebody pointed this out, or somebody on Twitter pointed it out. He says, I realize the God I need to be for you, for all of us. And that's the exact same line he says in Thor 1. He tells Odin, this is for you, for all of us. And Odin's like, no, Loki, that's not how this works. But in this season, they were telling him no because they didn't want him to sacrifice himself. So I didn't even realize the callback to Thor 1 until somebody pointed it out. I was like, oh, it's bittersweet. He's saying the same thing, but he's doing different actions.
So Loki blows up the loom, collects all of the branches of time, and...
transforms, by the way.
He gets his horns back.
Yep.
And he gets a new cozy outfit.
He gets a new cozy Loki outfit. He's out of his TVA clothes.
Yep. And he basically uses himself to power he restructures the shape of time. So now it's in the shape of a tree.
A beautiful tree with all the branches.
Which is, flowing. I think, is the same tree of Asgard, which is the same tree.
It's a Norse mythology tree that has a name that I'm not going to pronounce because I can't.
It is.
You can Google it.
I believe it's the same tree from Captain America.
Somebody pointed that out.
Where Red Skull goes to find the Tesseract.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that.
It's hidden behind a wall mural of this tree, of the same exact tree.
Somebody pointed that out. So
and he punches through it, and that's where he finds the Tesseract behind
it. I think you are right because somebody else pointed that out.
Yeah, because then it ends up in Asgard because Loki ends up having it to give to Thanos.
Right.
So yeah, I did peep that Easter egg when I saw it.
But he basically, instead of the loom, we now have this tree. It's like the tree of life, essentially, because he's in the heart of the tree and all the branches from the tree are allowed to continue to go. So there is no capacity problem because it's literally a tree.
And he's powering it.
And he's powering it himself. Yep.
So he is now He Who Remains at the end of time. So this way, He Who Remains stays dead because he never stopped Sylvie from killing him. And literally, he's the only one. He's the only one he's the only main character that dies.
You're right.
He Who Remains. The rest of them get to live their lives.
Technically, was already dead.
So while Loki sacrificed himself to, and he's not dead.
He's alive, sitting outside of time.
He's the god of time at this point.
Holding all of the timelines together.
He's ascended to...
By his lonesome, though.
He's ascended to super godhood.
Yeah, because you had a good description. He's like Atlas, holding the world on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of there for all of time.
So we get to see what happens with the rest of the cast members. B-15 still runs the TVA. Mm-hmm. She and Casey are still hunting He Who Remains variants.
Yes, so the TVA is repurposed. Instead of hunting down branch timelines, there's no sacred timeline. There's no branch timelines. They're just all allowed to live freely. They are now on a mission to hunt down these Kane variants because Loki made the decision of if he saves everybody and lets He Who Remain dies, all the Kane variants are about to come out the woodwork. So we still have that problem. But he made the sacrifice of saying, well, I'm going to let y'all, live, have all your timelines, but y'all going to have to come together to fight these Kane variants.
Yeah, because
that are about to come out.
A lot of people didn't pay attention. They were like, oh, this is a great way to write Kang out and get rid of Jonathan Majors because he's killed Who Remains and now it's Loki.
Now,
it's
they can recast all they want, but Kang
He Who Remains was very clear that if I die, there's a version of me in every single timeline.
Infinite.
And because now that the timelines are infinitely allowed to grow, there's going to be an infinite amount of Kang still, and they all have the same threat level. So the TVA is still important.
Somebody pointed out, before you get to that, that the Kangs and all the timelines aren't even all adults. They could be kids that haven't grown in the Kang
and not
yet.
all of the Kangs
They could be old Kangs that ain't realized they Kang yet. So they really gotta
They all have the same threat level, but they're not all bad guys. They're just all dangerous in the way of they have dangerous potential.
Right.
And because of that dangerous potential, they have to
Victor Timely was going to make the TVA. He just hadn't gotten to that point yet.
Right. And I think that opens up an interesting way for them to deal with the Kangs. They don't all have to be killed because, for example, Victor Timely is still potentially as dangerous as any of the other Kangs because he has the ability to do what he can do.
Right.
But because they changed it to where he never got the TVA handbook in the past.
He doesn't create the TVA.
He just becomes a regular scientist.
He's just Victor Timely.
He's not a threat to all of existence in reality. So they can do there's different ways they can settle the Kangs in different universes without pruning all of them, basically.
Right, which is they're gonna have to figure out.
They got to figure out.
Because there's a whole council of Kangs ready to turn up.
Yeah, they have to keep a running list of them, keep track of all of them.
That's why I was like, people making that assumption was like, getting rid of the Kang storyline would get rid of Loki's sacrifice. It would make his sacrifice pointless.
The point
made the sacrifice to have y'all be able to beat the Kangs, not to. It just didn't make any sense.
And that was the point of the TVA. The point of the TVA, that was the point of saving the TVA. The point of saving the TVA was because they were going to need an organization that was going to be around to be able to handle the Kangs.
What the heck was going on.
Right. And without the TVA around, nobody's going to know what's going on with the Kangs.
And people are like, oh, well, you can just say in the background that the TVA is taking care of all the Kangs. An infinite number of Kangs. There are not an infinite number of TVA people because they're not pruning people anymore. And they're not pulling people from the timeline. There's only so many TVA people,
and from what we've seen with
Kangs are powerful,
other Marvel properties, the multiverse is not going away.
No,
it's not going away. So you can't just be like, oh well, you don't have to mention Kang anymore. The multiverse is not going back in the bag.
Set up Kang perfectly in season 2, and I said last episode, let's keep it rewrite it, recast, do whatever y'all gotta do.
Yeah, this show was successful in getting rid of 2 variants.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
He Who Remains.
It doesn't make any sense to think that we're just gonna be like, okay, we're just gonna throw the infinite number of them out of the bag.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
So we also get an Easter egg where B-15 is talking to Casey, and Casey mentions that they had a report of a variant being stopped in a 616 adjacent realm, and that was a Quantumania Easter egg because
so we know Kang the Conqueror is gone.
We know it, right? So we know the Conqueror version is gone,
but there's a whole council.
But they all kind of want to conquer. So we got an Easter egg that the TVA is aware that Ant-Man took care of Kang the Conqueror in Quantum Realm. Mobius decides to leave the TVA to go live his real life that he was taken from. Mm-hmm. Because throughout the whole season, Mobius is kind of anti going back to his timeline.
Right,
because,
and seeing what was.
Because he doesn't know. He doesn't want to open himself up to the possibility. So at the end, he realizes that he wants to actually live an actual life. So he leaves the TVA and goes back to live his life, which I thought was good because he deserved it.
He did. I think also he was kind of sad Loki was gone. So he was like, what am I here for?
Yeah, and I think his friendship with Loki was kind of one of the last reasons he was staying at the TVA. Yeah. So now that Loki was gone.
Holding it together.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Sylvie just gets to do whatever she wants.
She gets her free will.
And that's fine.
Like she always wanted.
She deserved it. Even though they took strides to make Sylvie very annoying.
I liked her more this season than I did last season, but I like this season so much more.
She was more useful this season than last season.
In general. Yes, this season was, to me, a few steps ahead of season 1.
But she deserved her ending. She deserved to do whatever she wanted to do with her life because she was still, like the rest of them, plucked and stolen from her life.
And she was actually on the run.
And she was on the run for a very, very long, we don't even know how long, because she could jump through time.
Right.
So she was on the run for a very long time, and now she doesn't have to be anymore. Mm-hmm. And Loki just gets to watch over them all.
For all time.
And I thought that was a good ending.
It was bittersweet.
I thought it was.
I don't like the fact that Loki's just chilling alone, but my headcanon is that he is a god. He's
fine.
He spent centuries learning physics. If he really wants to find some way to make it work, he could, take a break and come back. I don't know.
Tom Hiddleston did post that it's been a journey, hinting that this is the end of his run as Loki in the MCU for the foreseeable future. We know that the show won't be coming back because the showrunners said
they ended this too well to have another season.
And they ended it on, they titled the last episode the same as the first episode. Yeah, like that's the definitive end.
Like I almost feel like but I would love for Loki and Thor to have some type of reunion. So I feel like there's no way you do Secret Wars and not even mention Loki, knowing that he knows Kang and
he'll probably be in Secret Wars. Everybody will be in Secret Wars. When
he says that, I don't think he's coming back in no full-fledged, full-scale, full-length movie. He might make a cameo, but they wrapped his character up so well that having him being significant in anything else, I think maybe might belittle his sacrifice a little bit.
Yeah, and the thing with
you have to be careful bringing him back because you don't want to diminish what he did in the season finale.
The thing with making him I say the foreseeable future because we don't know if he's going to be there forever. Also, Secret Wars is supposed to be a soft reboot, so he may no longer need to do that.
That's what I'm wondering because
they might find a separate solution.
Right. The rumor is Secret Wars is the reboot, and I'm like, well, what would we reboot if Loki's holding everything together?
But even if he is, it's the ultimate redemption. Like this, because there's been a lot of conversation of we've been on this Loki redemption arc journey forever, but Loki has yet to actually do anything good
to redeem himself.
Like he's been like emotionally growing and stuff, but
he
hasn't actually
up in time where he Ragnarok where he does something
produced anything good for the universe. But now this is officially like he literally is holding the universe together. So this is
all of it.
You
literally all of it.
Redemption is complete. There's no more argument that can be made. He's paid his dues.
He's paying his dues.
Yes, he's paying his dues.
All of it. Paid, he's literally paying and paid.
He's literally keeping everybody alive.
Right.
So
it was a fitting end. It was just a little bittersweet because he in the previous episode said he didn't want to be alone, but then he was like, I gotta make the sacrifice to be up here chilling. Yeah.
So I liked it. I was okay with I actually really, really, really liked the ending because
it was a really good episode.
Everybody got to live. It was very emotional, very good writing, very good dialogue.
Yeah.
A lot of revelations. You would think that at this point they didn't have anything else to reveal.
Right.
But
and you started on such a high with the whole funny bits of him going back through time and going back. Like that part was hilarious.
And that was the end game thing because he
was fed up because he had done this and they hadn't. He was like, he's like completing their sentences and he's like, they're like, how do you know what I'm about to say?
Yeah, this is very end game because you got the it led you back to me speech. You got the title card with the time jump. You got
a sacrifice.
You got the jump into your favorite parts of the show. Just like they in Endgame, they jump to your favorite moments in the movies. Right. So it was very Endgame-esque, and it did it a really good service.
It did. It ended on an exceptional high note. I will say that I like this season finale. It doesn't pay me to say, but more than WandaVision. Only because it wrapped up Loki in such a good way, even though it's bittersweet.
Yeah, WandaVision kind of left, and there was no end credit stinger at the end of this. No, like there's no tease for anything in the future.
And people were upset about that. Like, y'all,
you know what's coming.
It's the end of the show.
Yeah.
There's no,
and we already know what's coming. We don't need a
post-credit scene, right?
You literally have the MCU slate. It's online. You can look it up. You know what's coming after this.
He Who Remains, like nothing changed about him saying that the Infinites it's coming. Like that's still a thing.
Maybe they just wanted a teaser that showed more Kang. Maybe if they had a credit scene that showed more Kangs,
we already got
that would make it very clear that, because I think people for some reason are still confused that the Kang problem has not been solved. They're not even scratching the surface.
Children left behind is what
the only
I'm
thing they did
was
save the timelines. They have not solved the Kang problem.
I didn't get that discourse of people not understanding, but I hope we see Loki again. If we don't, it's okay. But I would love him and Thor to kind of, have a family reunion.
I think it's good because they also kind of got rid of all their most expensive characters.
You're right.
So we can see B-15 again because she runs the TVA. We can see a Casey cameo.
Yeah.
We can.
I'm assuming some of them will pop up in Deadpool 3. Maybe.
Yeah, because TVA plays a big role in Deadpool 3.
And they're going to have to explain what the TVA
So I would love to see like a B-15 or Casey cameo in Deadpool. Just to show that they're still there doing what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Renslayer was sent to the Void.
I think she's dead.
I don't think she's dead.
You don't think that thing ate her?
Well, we know that you can survive. Well, you know what Loki said? Alioth is just he's a deterrent. He's not.
Well, but he ate classic Loki in season 1.
He did, but we didn't see proof of body. All we saw was her on the ground, and we saw her looking at Alioth, which is the beast thing.
People are like, oh, that's a Kang variant. Like, no, y'all, here we go again.
Yeah.
It's clearly the thing that was eating people in the first thing. But
when she looked over and saw the pyramid and saw the piece of TVA, it was clear that she was in the void.
It was a bunch of wind and dust.
And it was clear she was in the void because that's where all the things go.
She looked like she was about to be like, oh, here it is. Here it is.
So I don't think she's dead because
we didn't see it.
Yeah,
okay.
they I think they're gonna pull a Grant War with her. We're gonna see her again.
Interesting.
Maybe not as many times, but we're definitely gonna see her again. There's no proof of body.
She deserves to die, though. I'm just gonna put that out there.
And we could definitely see Sylvie again, even though we don't have to. But
I think the only people we are gonna see again are maybe Casey, B-15, and maybe Mobius.
I don't think we're gonna see Mobius again.
No, you don't think? Oh, you're right, because he went back home.
And
You're right.
Owen Wilson is probably one of the more expensive cast members.
But they can come. People can come for cameos.
Yeah, they can come for cameos.
But you're saying not a cameo gonna be too expensive.
I mean, because what would he have? I mean, I don't think they're gonna bring him back just because of the ending.
Exactly, yeah. I agree with you that you're right. So just Casey, B-15, and I'd
be fine with that.
Yeah,
and Obi. Because Ke Quan is was still around. Right. And so I would be fine with the three of them just popping up just to say, hey, we're still like, or maybe like a Miss Minutes cameo in Deadpool to show that she's still like directing them or whatever.
Yeah, I think cameos are definitely not off the table for literally anybody, Loki included.
Any negatives you had about the show?
None.
Especially not this season.
None.
I mean, we weren't podcasting for season 1, so my critique for season 1 was that it felt a little slow.
Yes, there was some filler.
This one, they kind of used most of the time that they had, and it was very emotional.
Good writing.
Didn't have too much action. It was mostly more about the character. It was a lot of character building and a lot of
problem solving,
drama, and a lot of problem solving. Yeah.
So. This is, as people like to say, I think this is peak MCU.
This is definitely peak MCU.
They did a and these writers are going to be used for Deadpool. No, I'm sorry, Daredevil. I don't know if they're doing the whole show or part of the show, but I think they pulled some of these writers to hop onto Daredevil. So that'll be interesting.
Good writing choices.
They actually should probably use these same writers for Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. I'm just saying, if they free. Also, last thing I'll say before we take a break.
All right.
Score and visuals.
Great score.
11 out of 10.
Yeah.
For both of them. Every time they played that Loki theme and they kind of varied it up just a little bit, or it was a different rendition. Absolutely perfect. And the very last shot of the whole show where they zoom in on Loki's face and we see him amongst all the timelines in the green, and they play his theme, peak score.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we got? Watch it if you haven't seen it. You should just watch it just to see how Loki's character just goes through all the motions and the beats and the plot, and the ending just is kind of like chef kiss.
Yeah, after
you realize all that Loki's been through from Thor 1 up till now.
After I thought about it, I was like, oh, it's going to be very hard trying to explain to, because every time a new Avengers movie comes out, you have the people who are just getting around to the MCU for the first time.
Right.
They're like, okay, I'm going to start watching the MCU movies. I'm going to start with Avengers 1. And I was like, it's now going to be very awkward trying to explain to somebody who's only seen Avengers 1 that Loki is going to go from this to being the one who controls all of time.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing. It's literally
the MCU
amazing.
has literally become a comic book where you have to now have reader's notes at the bottom to be like, if you're confused, read issue this, issue number this
start from the beginning.
Only in a comic book would you be able to say this character in 10 years will go along to become the god of time. Right. Now you can do that in a movie. I feel like that's very interesting. Yeah.
So Loki season 2, we highly recommend. So definitely check it out.
Yeah.
All right. So next up in our episode is my most anticipated movie second. Little Mermaid was first. The Marvels was second.
Little Mermaid came out this year.
Child, yeah, it came out in May.
Wow.
Seen it 4 times, by the way. 3 times in the theaters and 1 time. And I need to get the Steelbook still because there was some after.
It does not seem like it.
Yep. May.
It seems like it's been longer.
May, child. So this episode, our movie review, is for The Marvels. It came out November 10th, 2023, which was yesterday. It's directed by Nia DaCosta, who also directed the Candyman sequel from 2021. This stars Brie Larson, Tiana Paris, Aman Vellani, Zawe Aston.
I think it's Zawe.
Okay, Zawe Aston and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
Runtime is 1 hour and 45 minutes, which...
Perfect.
I say not perfect because I wanted it to be longer, but Candyman was only 1 hour and 31 minutes. I wonder how long her first movie was. So I wonder if Nita's kind of got a thing where she's like, I can tell my story in a certain amount of time.
Candyman was how long?
1.5 hours.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, runtime 1 hour and 45 minutes. It went speedy. It was a quick one, and they was moving.
I liked it. I liked the fact that I left the theater and it was still primetime television time. And I could still watch other stuff.
You went out.
I did. I went out.
Had to go out.
Yeah. I went home. I watched TV for a couple hours, and I still had time to go out afterwards. So yeah. And we caught a 7 p.m.
Yeah, 7. Show. Our show was at 7. So yeah, good runtime. Budget was $220 million, which is pretty high.
Yes,
it's pretty high. Marvel still has a thing where they kind of maybe need to trim budgets just a bit, but I'll allow it because it's this movie.
I could see it on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yes, for sure.
I could actually see the budget on the screen in this movie.
And that's always a good thing. Projected box office opening for domestic weekend is 45 to 50 million, which in terms of Marvel's movies is not great.
No, I think it's the lowest MCU opening of all time.
It is currently on track to be the lowest MCU opening. We discussed this last episode about the pre-sales and why the pre-sales are what they are. And there's a lot of discourse behind the Marvels.
This movie had an unfortunate case of
too much going on,
being a woman-led film.
Yes. And
coming out in the middle of a controversy around the MCU.
Yes, you're right.
Which is run and operated by mostly men. So yeah.
And the fandom is also mostly men. Yeah. So yeah, it's not doing great at the box office. I don't care. We're going to actually go see this again today. So if that tells you anything, you should go support this movie.
Yeah.
Ratings, it has a cinema score of B, which is also not great for superhero movies. I am not surprised by this score, judging by the makeup of the cast, judging by the discourse surrounding this movie.
Nope.
It's not surprising. I will say though, this is the same cinema score as Eternals, which we also loved.
Eternals was good. And I liked Eternals.
History, once again, people forget. When Eternals came out, everybody bashed it, and it wasn't good. Eternals also a woman-directed film. Mm-hmm. Surprise, surprise. People were hating on it. It wasn't good. But now when you talk about Eternals,
it's become like an MCU cult classic.
Hello. Now when you talk about Eternals, everybody's kind of like, oh, it was unfairly rated. People didn't do enough people didn't do it justice. It's underrated.
Because people don't know what they want. They want MCU to not be the same.
Right.
But then they fail to appreciate when they have the few movies that come out that make like good different. Creative choices.
Yeah.
And then they want to...
When they watch the movie,
then
maybe.
They want to watch it at home a lot because it actually, they're like, oh, actually, this is actually good because it's different.
When Eternals came to Disney Plus, it was like the most watched movie of that time. So anyway, B Cinema score, not great for superheroes. It's probably not good for its legs at the box office. Once again, I don't care. Rotten Tomato score, critics gave it a 62. Which means that more critics liked it than didn't like it. Mm-hmm. And the audience score is at an 85.
Yeah. Which means a lot more people liked it.
A lot more people liked it. I actually went on Rotten Tomatoes, something I've never done, and left a review.
You left a review? Good job.
I am serious about this.
Good job. Get you a letterboxd account.
Listen, I really like this movie, and I like it for a lot of reasons. And the fact that it has so much hate is just unnecessary. Yeah. But anyway, summarize the plot.
You said you have a fun fact down here?
That was for typical. Oh, I can do a fun fact. Zawe Aston and Loki are a couple in real life. Or should I say Tom Hiddleston are a couple in real life. That's my fun fact. They both play villains, although Loki is now pretty much a hero.
Yes.
And they had a baby not too long ago that nobody has seen, which fair.
That's good.
Fair. They should probably.
We haven't seen Kerry Washington's kids either. So
there's like
I think they're doing great.
Right. There's like one picture floating. So that's my fun fact is 2 Marvel villains are now happily in love in real life.
So I can summarize the plot.
Go for it.
So summary of the plot. Captain Marvel is Captain Marveling around the galaxy, being everybody's Captain Marvel.
Yep.
Monica Rambeau is working with Nick Fury on a space station in Sabre. Mm-hmm. And Aman Vellani's Captain Marvel is just being a regular Miss Marvel. Mm-hmm. Sorry, is being a regular teenage girl at home in Jersey.
Loving her some Captain Marvel.
And this movie picks up exactly at the end of Miss Marvel's season finale.
Yes.
Where she notices that her bangle, which is she has a gold bangle that's a family heirloom that was sent to her by her grandmother.
Yep.
Has been doing some strange glowing throughout the series. At the end of the series, her bangle glows and she switches places with Brie Larson. Brie Larson appears in a room.
Yep.
And we don't know where Miss Marvel went. And that's how the show ended.
Right.
This movie picks up
cliffhanger.
This movie picks up right where that left off. Mm-hmm. And all of these 3 women are in their separate places doing their own thing.
And in their business.
Zawe Ashton, who plays Dar-Benn, who's a male Kree villain in the first, is a male Kree villain in the comics.
Okay.
They race benter and casted Zawe Ashton, which I think was
race and gender.
Although, you know what?
Race been a Kree though?
Kree people don't really have a race. They're all Kree. They just have different colors.
So they just gender bent.
And I think they just gender bent. And I think in the comics, the superior group of Kree were the blue Kree. And everybody else was like treated not as great, but I don't think that matters in the MCU. It seems like they're all
Kree seem the same.
Seem like they're all on the same level in the movies.
I love it regardless.
Zawe Ashton, for whatever reason, takes her and a team to go dig up the other bangle on some other planet. I don't know if they give us the name of the planet or not.
I don't recall. We'll find out when we watch it again.
This bangle gives her the power to open up warp gates for space travel.
Time jump holes?
Jump gates that they use to travel across space. Yeah. But also...
They call them something, but I can't think of the name.
It also intertangles Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, and Miss Marvel's powers because they're all light-based powers. And it causes a situation where every time they use not every time, but...
When they use them at the same time, that's what it was.
When they use their powers at the same time, they switch places.
Yes.
And the setup for the movie is them coming together and trying to find a way to stop their powers from being entangled and to stop Dar-Benn from doing whatever Dar-Benn is doing. No spoilers.
Right. So let's jump into who we liked and who we didn't like as far as actors and actresses in this.
I don't think there's anybody I didn't like.
Not a soul.
No.
If y'all can't tell I really like this movie, then wake up.
There was nobody I didn't like. The villains were very Guardians of the Galaxy. And I always like the villains in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
Where it's a bad guy who's charismatic, but they also have like their background people who are kind of charismatic as well.
Yeah.
So I like the villains, and they were simple. They weren't complex. They didn't go too deep in them.
They were pretty simple.
They were bad guys with a motivation that made sense.
And this isn't to the actress. I wish we would have spent more time with her so we can get more of her backstory.
I get why we didn't.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because the movie, it seemed like I get why we didn't, because at this point, we don't need additional like villains that hang around forever.
Fair enough.
At this point.
Fair enough.
But I did like her. I really liked her. Yeah.
I liked her depiction of Dar-Benn. And the only thing I would have, and this, like I said, it's not on the actress, I would have liked to see more of her. That's about it. But everybody else's role, liked everybody. Side characters, front characters, I was all in.
Characters we liked, I'll say in order.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Iman Vellani.
Okay.
Miss Marvel was probably my number one character in the movie.
Okay.
And then it was Monica Rambeau. And then it was Captain Marvel. And that's not a dig at Captain Marvel. I really like Captain Marvel, and I really like Brie Larson as Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this movie, they made an effort to kind of spotlight
all three of them
together.
Yep.
And not make it just about Captain Marvel. Because this movie absolutely was not just like Captain Marvel 2. It felt like Captain Marvel was part of an ensemble cast in a different movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say I like them all equally. I give the edge to Monica because I'm biased. Totally biased.
And she was good. She
had a twist out, y'all. Like, hello.
And I would say that Miss Marvel is probably my number one only because I feel like she had more screen time than Monica. I feel like there was some especially when they were doing the switching. Okay. I feel like they spent
in the beginning. She seemed to switch.
We didn't
with
switch
Carol
to Monica
more.
As much.
Not in the beginning.
It seemed like, especially in the beginning, no spoilers. In the trailer, they show the house fight.
Yeah, and it's
I feel like
Carol
we focus more
Monica.
on Carol and
Miss
Marvel than we do on Monica.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Yeah.
I would say just a highlight. I like Nick Fury, Samuel Jackson's depiction of Nick Fury in this more than his other. Like, he was good. Nick Fury was good in Secret Invasion. Samuel Jackson in Secret Invasion was good. The acting in Secret Invasion wasn't the issue. But he's a little different in this movie. He's a little more like, he's still Nick Fury, but he a little more, I don't know.
And I feel like I know why that is.
Like, he's just kind of like, I'm here, I'm still in charge, I'm still giving orders, but I'm not like high strung. I think maybe that's what it was.
This is the first time we're seeing Nick Fury not work for a shadow organization. Because S.H.I.E.L.D. was very shadowy. Yep. And it seems like Saber, which is now the space variant of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
It seems it's more public. So he's not as, like, he's not a spy anymore.
Oh, he gets to be more out in the open.
That's why he's more charismatic, and that's why he's, like, around more people. Because we get to see him interact with his employees a lot more.
Yes.
In this.
Oh, yeah, he walking around.
In S.H.I.E.L.D., it was just him and Maria.
Right.
It was just him and Maria Hill. And that was the only, and Coulson.
Right.
And
they just had their little, Oh, that's a good explanation.
In this one, it seems like he's not a spy anymore. He's more like just a boss of a branch of government. And he talks to, it seems like employees are able to approach him a lot more. Yes. He talks to them a lot more.
Yes, he's more approachable for sure.
So I did. You're right. I did.
That was that'll be my standout performance I just noticed that he played him a little different, and I liked it.
And I like the cat. I like Goose more in this one. I feel like they used
I don't even
Goose
really
more.
Remember. They definitely use Goose more.
They definitely use Goose more in this one.
Probably
I'm not even
one
a
of
cat
the best
person.
scenes of the movie involved Goose for sure.
But I dislike cats, but they made Goose a plot device.
Sure did.
So, and that I enjoyed. So that was good.
Yep. Anything else we want to touch on before we get into spoilers? I will say that I'm so glad this movie was good.
Yeah.
It was, and I'm so glad I muted the hashtags. One, not for spoilers, but two, to avoid the discourse, because sometimes, when we doing a podcast, so we have to watch out for movie news and stuff. But sometimes if there's too much going on with a movie, you just gotta have to quiet the noise to be able to experience. Mm-hmm. Like, have your own experience and not go in. You already go in with some sort of preconceived notion. But to go in and enjoy it, I would say stay away from the discourse.
Non-spoiler thoughts. The budget I can see on the screen.
Yes.
It
was visually.
That's becoming more rare nowadays, where you're seeing the budget, that you're actually seeing a movie that looks like it equates to the budget that's attached to it.
Good visual spectacle.
VFX were very good. I listened to somebody else's thoughts on the movie, and they said that the trailers for the Marvels do not do the VFX in the actual movie justice, and I think that's very true. The VFX in the movie, in the same scenes they show in the trailer, the VFX in the movie look much better.
Yeah,
and I think that's just the quality of the trailers. Yeah. But the VFX in the movie are great.
The switching of them when they use their powers was very well
Looks
done.
much better in the movie than it does in the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, probably because you can see the wider picture of what's happening, and it's on a bigger screen. Mm-hmm. Like, you can see the people around them switching and their reactions and all that. It just looks really good.
The production value was like Guardians of the Galaxy level.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would agree. I mean, Guardians has more practical effects because it has more alien races. This doesn't have as many alien races, but it looks like it's pulled. The world looks like it's pulled from a Guardians movie, where it's the same production value that goes into the ships,
the
and
color,
the crew,
and all that.
The
stuff
color,
is there.
the differences between the planets.
Nia said when she was talking about this movie of how like it's bright and you go to these different worlds and they have all this color, and she was right. Shocker, she was right about her own movie.
So the production value was great. VFX were great. Action scenes were great. Action choreo was perfect.
It was. And this is not really a spoiler, but I didn't realize that Monica could be invisible. So when she when she's switching and she's fighting and she like goes through people, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I didn't even know you could do that.
Yes.
And it looks really good.
Yeah, that's how. So in the comics, that's her ability, is she's intangible. So she can walk. She's like Kitty Pryde. So she can walk through solid objects.
See, I didn't know that before.
She can make herself invisible. But in the comics, it's kind of like they do the same thing with in comic books, they only show the character's best power. It's like they only show Storm using lightning in comics. You never see her use wind or create a winter storm, because lightning is like her most powerful ability. Right. So you forget that they can do all these different things. Like in Monica was in the Secret Wars comic.
She's coming back.
She was in and it's funny because Carol was not in the Secret Wars comic, but Monica was in the original one.
Okay.
Not the reboot. And she can, because she is light, she can turn herself into light, and she can travel at the speed of light. So she can do a lot of things. So I really liked their power set. VFX on all their abilities were great.
Yes. I love every time Captain Marvel flies. Literally.
Yeah, because it's so colorful.
She be gone. She be like, bye. And it just looks really good.
They do a really good job of you know what I think they do a really bad job with Superman is they make Superman all powerful.
Oh yeah,
but
he's
not relatable at all.
No.
He's all powerful, but he doesn't seem like a human. In the movies, not in the comics. Especially Henry Cavill's portrayal. Henry Cavill just didn't seem like a human.
Well, he didn't have human. It didn't seem like he had human emotion.
It was like, yeah.
He was so stoic.
He was like, all powerful, but he didn't have like any human emotions. It was just somber stoic, and sad all the time.
Superman.
And I liked Henry Cavill's portrayal, but that's just who his Superman was. Her Captain Marvel is they do a better job with Captain Marvel, where they show how just ridiculously powerful she is.
So powerful.
Like by the end of this movie, she does something her very last act at the end of this movie is just egregious. She's the
only one. Like,
it's egregious.
And they say
it makes zero sense.
You're like the only one, and she's like, yeah, you're right. You're right.
You see her do it, and even when you're watching her do it, it's like, no, that doesn't make sense. But
but she's powerful. That's how powerful she is.
They make her extremely powerful, but she's very human, and she
is.
She's built relationships on different worlds. People know her.
Yeah.
Not just, she's
buddies.
famous.
She got buddies.
She's famous around the galaxy, and she seems very human, and she's awkward.
She is.
She has to explain awkward situations to other people about like things that she's been involved in. So I like that they made her so unrelatably powerful, but she was still a relatable person. She still didn't know how to have conversations with like Tiana Paris's character. They were still awkward.
It was real. I was like, oh, this is touchy.
They did a good job at making her just irresponsibly powerful, but still relatable.
Listen, whenever she, like you described it perfectly, when she takes off, it's so colorful and it looks so cool because it's not even it's better than a rainbow. It's just like this stream of light that she goes off and it follows her the whole way. I love it.
And all of their powers look great.
Yes.
All of their powers look great. And the last thing I'll say is the writing was great. I liked all of the conversations they had.
Yes.
I liked that the movie...
It didn't drag anywhere. It did not drag anywhere.
The movie didn't drag. It was tight. The story was tight, but it didn't feel like the movie was on rails. Like on like Blue Beetle, for example. I'm not saying it was a bad movie, but you could tell where Blue Beetle was going from start to finish. It was on rails. It was a carbon copy of plenty of movies that came before it. This one, I didn't know where it was gonna go.
I didn't know how they were going to end it.
Because they had a lot of B plots. While Monica and Carol and Miss Marvel are trying to stop Dar-Benn, Nick Fury has his own thing that he's got to deal with on the space station.
Right.
There's also Kamala's family that has their thing going on. So I like the fact that
and it didn't get too messy.
I didn't know what was going to happen with everybody's story at the end. It didn't get too messy, but it kept me surprised.
Yeah, I like that.
And amazing after credit scenes.
Yes. So another reason why I'm so happy I muted because I didn't get spoiled. And being spoiled is not fun.
I didn't get spoiled, which I was surprised by.
I'm surprised you didn't get spoiled either.
I did not get spoiled by the after credit scene.
Because you would like send me like a clip or something that I wouldn't see because I had it muted. And I'm like, I wonder if Jared gonna get spoiled before this is over.
I did not get spoiled.
That's good.
But yeah. Okay, so are we ready for spoilers?
In 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Loved it.
I thought it was great.
It's so good.
It's
good that I wanted it to be longer.
It's a 10 out of 10 movie in the same vein as Thor Ragnarok, where the story is very simple.
Yep.
And it's action-packed from front to back. It's not as long as Thor Ragnarok.
It's funny.
But it is funny.
It is funny.
It has a great cast of characters who all have great chemistry together.
Like
all of them.
Is on
all
10.
of them have good chemistry. Not just the 3 main women.
Yep.
They all
Fury
have
and the family.
They all individually have chemistry with Fury. They all individually have chemistry with the family.
Each other.
And even though they don't really have too many scenes with Dar-Benn outside of fighting her, I felt like Carol and Dar-Benn were good.
You could tell
contemporary. There was history there.
Yep.
And it was very personal. And you could tell that Carol cared about, like, she knew Dar-Benn was somebody she had to stop, right? But she also understood that she had responsibility she made this bad guy.
Right.
It was her responsibility.
Right. So I guess the spoiler point of the plot is that the reason why Dar-Benn is pissed, what Dar-Benn is trying to do is take resources from other planets. Go ahead. Because
that also, so it kind of picks up right after, we find out right after the end of Captain Marvel 1.
Captain Marvel, at the end of Captain Marvel 1, she wants to go off and destroy the
Supreme Intelligence.
The Supreme Intelligence that the Kree basically lives by, because that is how she basically has been controlled. And she's like, you guys shouldn't be controlling people like this. Like, I'm going to destroy it. So that's what she does.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
their whole ecosystem is run by the Supreme Intelligence.
So Dar-Benn, like, she done came out of nowhere. They call her the Annihilator because she basically annihilated the people.
And I love the scene where she literally flew in like a comet, came in,
she did,
blew up the Supreme Intelligence, and just left.
She was like,
and nobody could stop her.
Pit stop. Boom, boom, boom. Knock this thing out. Bye. And you see her little light stream go away.
I love the fact that she just came in hot.
Super hot
and angry. Helmet on, everything.
It was her same helmet it was her same outfit from another movie previously, but I can't think of which one.
From Captain Marvel 1?
Is that the same out? Or her hair wasn't out. That's what it was.
Yeah, she had the helmet on.
She had the helmet on, so her hair wasn't out. But she was lit up like a flame.
She
like
literally
a moth to a fire.
flew from Earth. And it's like, it was literally like sitting in your house chilling and somebody kicks your door in and just like bust up your whole house and then just walks out and leaves. And you can't stop them because they're so extremely powerful.
Yes. So Dar-Benn is upset. For 30 years, she's been upset because Captain Marvel, aka the Annihilator, came in, destroyed their supreme intelligence, and now their home is basically a wasteland.
Yeah, their water, their oceans dried up.
No water, no nothing.
And they have no breathable air anymore.
So they're going planet to planet. They're specifically seeming to pick out planets that Carol has an attachment to take their resources, to punch holes in the atmosphere to take the resources back to their planet.
And the way she's doing this is we find out that Dar-Benn's bangle that she found on this planet,
the planet is called a number. That's why we didn't know.
It's an ancient Kree planet. I think it's MB14 is what he calls it.
Something like that. Yep.
The sister bangle is Kamala's bangle.
Exactly.
They're actually a pair. And
they're a cute little match.
They have the ability to open jump points in space and time. Go from
one place to another.
But when you use them together, they can open holes in reality.
Correct.
So she wants the other bangle.
She wants both.
She doesn't know for a while that the other bangle is owned by Kamala Khan.
Right. She finds the one. She's upset at the very beginning of the movie because we start off quick. She finds the one. She realized the other one is missing, but she like, never mind. We'll figure it out. I still need to go do my due. And
so
she start going to the planets and taking their resources.
So when she finds the first bangle, she activates it. She entangles all of the three women's powers, and we get a very good sequence of Captain Marvel in space fighting Kree. Monica Rambeau in space investigating the jump points, and Miss Marvel at home just chilling,
doing homework. She's supposed to be doing homework.
and their power starts switching them places. And before that, we get the scene of whenever Carol goes on a space adventure, she takes Goose with her.
Yes.
So Carol is like flying through space, surrounded by like her light energy, and Goose is literally on her shoulder. No space protection. Goose can just breathe in space, and just looks like a cat with his head out the window. Yeah, like as you're driving, it looks like my dog.
It's almost like that scene of where people have their dogs on their side of in the little sidecar, and they on their little motorcycle, and the dog's just kind of chilling with the wind blowing through its ears.
It's cute because it's cute because the cat is just chilling. Its eyes are squinted because it's wind blowing at its face, and it's just like crouched down, and it looks like it's too much. It's just funny. It's cute, hilarious. Though. So we get a sequence between the three of them jumping and switching places while fighting Kree.
Right, and they don't know. This is super beginning of the movie.
And they don't know. All they know right now is what's happening.
They know there's a hole, but they don't know that they're entangled.
So they know there's a hole. Well, they don't know that they're entangled. So they're fighting these Kree and switching places and having no idea what's going on. We get a really good scene of Carol showing up in Miss Marvel's house, and having to save her family from Kree that Goose swallowed and spit up when they got back to Carol's house, when they got back to Miss Marvel's house. And
Goose was working.
We're switching between Carol fighting a Kree, and Monica's in the house fighting a Kree, and Miss Marvel's in the house fighting the Kree. None of them are in the same place.
It's very well done.
Eventually, they all get in the same place, and they're like, okay, we're being entangled. We know Dar-Benn is the one doing it. We need to figure out how
we can work together.
She's doing it and how to stop it.
And this was probably my favorite scene of the whole movie, was them learning how to, basically they coordinate. They spend some time before trying to
we get a montage.
Dar-Benn. They coordinate how they can work together, knowing that their powers are entangled. And it's probably the best scene of the whole movie for me. Yeah,
so we get a good long montage of them in Carol's ship, which is the Hoopty.
Yeah.
Which is called the Hoopty. Which I love the fact that it is a Hoopty because we see her fixing it, and it looks like she's constantly replacing parts of it.
Yeah, and there's that's where we get our tense scene with Monica and Carol, because Monica was waiting for Carol to come back because she'd been gone since she was, 9, 10.
Yeah, so in the movie we get flashbacks.
She's been gone for a long time.
We get flashbacks of all the characters' previous appearances, and we get a flashback of Monica, who was a victim of the blip while her mother was dying of cancer. And by the time the 5-year gap had closed and Monica came back with everybody else, her mom had already passed. So her mom was dead and Carol never came back ever since Captain Marvel
did come back
to see her.
But we learned in this because we never knew that Carol actually came back to visit
and we don't know how long
Monica's
she was
mom.
with her mom.
Right.
She might have been there with her the entire 5 years and left.
She could have been.
She could have been there for a while.
You're right.
So, but we do find out that at least while Monica was blipped, Carol did come back. She was in touch with her mom, Maria, while she had cancer.
Right.
So we get a little bit of reconciliation between the two of them because Carol,
she still calls her Aunt Carol. That was cute.
Carol feels that because she basically is the one responsible for the Kree Civil War because she destroyed their planet.
Right. True.
She feels like she doesn't deserve to come home to Earth and live a happy life because she's got to solve this problem first. And that's why she just felt like she couldn't show her face to Monica again until she fixed her problem.
She definitely does not like being called the Annihilator.
And they call her the Annihilator, which I thought was fair. But I liked it.
It ain't a good name.
It's not a good name.
It's not a good moniker to have.
But
Prodigal Child of the Milky Way sounds a little better.
I like the fact that in some places she's the savior, in some places she's the villain.
Yeah.
Depending on what planet
you're talking to.
She's been to and what she's done.
Yep.
So I like that. And Miss Marvel finally understands that she can idolize Carol, but she doesn't need to be the same exact superhero as Carol.
Now, Miss Marvel brought there are so many funny, and we can't run them down. There are so many funny lines and scenes in this movie, but Miss Marvel, Kamala brings it with all, because she's very wide-eyed, bushy tail. She's basically like, if you were a Beyonce super fan, and you met Beyonce. And
you got to work with Beyonce.
Beyonce. This is how Kamala was with Carol. Yeah. So, but Carol's kind of like, I need you to tone this down. And she does. She brings it in, but she still has this very funny how Spider-Man basically was for Iron Man is essentially what the relationship is like. But it's very cute. It's very cute. And she's not annoying about it.
I also find it a little funny that she's developed this in the comics. It made sense why she developed this fandom around Captain Marvel, because in the comics, Captain Marvel was an Earth-based hero. She was the leader of the Avengers when Captain America retired. It was her and Black Panther when Captain America and Iron Man retired.
Okay.
But in the MCU, she's depicted as barely being on Earth. So it's funny that she developed this intense fandom around this chick that she's maybe seen twice.
She was like, beasties?
Yeah.
Like, girl, what? And another funny thing, she's trying to give Monica a code name, and Monica's like, no, girl, I don't want it. Like,
Monica does not want to be a superhero.
She's just like, I know I got powers. Like, I know I'm super smart. Like, girl, I don't need no code name.
And I love that when they're all explaining how you got your powers, and Monica is just like, I walked through Witch's Hex. And she says it twice. She's like, I got these powers. I walked through Witch's Hex. Now I can manipulate. And they all and Carol was like, a witch? So you got all of this because
it's interesting. She doesn't say who.
Yeah, she doesn't.
Carol would know
who Wanda is.
Interesting. Yes, absolutely. They was all at the battle at Endgame. Yeah. Very interesting.
And Carol was working with the Avengers during the blip, so she would have known that
she absolutely
Wanda was
one
of the people that was missing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Just something I thought of as we were
and because she knows Vision. Because when they're trying to brainstorm names for Monica, she was like, oh, she calls her Vision. She's like, oh, wait, never mind. Yeah. So she knows who Vision is.
That was good. Another thing that happened in this movie, Valkyrie appearance.
Valkyrie is still mayor of Asgard.
She is. Her and Carol are beasties in some capacity, which was very cool to see.
They're best friends in the comics.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're best friends in the comics.
Naturally. See, Nia know her business. She know. And she know her stuff.
And there's a sequence in this movie where Carol and Monica and Miss Marvel save some scrolls from Darbin, and they have to find a way to relocate them. So that's where the Valkyrie cameo comes in, because we don't know if she takes them back to New Asgard.
Yeah, we don't know where they go.
Because she can take them literally anywhere because she has the Bifrost.
She shows up on the Bifrost.
She comes and takes them. She comes up and takes them somewhere.
Right. I was like, is that that is Valkyrie.
She gives Carol a pep talk. And she looked great.
I loved it.
I liked her little pinstripe suit.
It was only like maybe a minute or long.
And the braids were on point.
Yeah, it was only like a minute and a half scene, but I was like, it's good to see Valkyrie's face.
Yeah. So loved the Valkyrie cameo. I loved the super suits. I didn't like Carol's second super suit.
When they get to the singing planet.
Yeah, I like the bright red and bright blue.
Mm-hmm,
I don't like the darker color ones. It just seems more muted. That was the same issue I had with the Superman suit and the Zack Snyder Superman, where it was just too like dark blue and dark red. Okay. So I did like her original Captain Marvel suit better in the beginning of the movie, but I really liked Monica Rambeau's super suit, the white and black.
I like that they gave her the wings and she was like, this seems like too much. And then she just kind of puts them out to the side.
Because the wings she had the wings in the 70s comic. And it was like the 70s. So everything was like bell bottoms and
there's
a
big clothes. I don't know if it's like a current comic book cover with her with the wings. So when she had them and she's like fiddling with it, I'm like, oh, she got her wings. And she's like, no, this is too much. And she takes it off. I was like, excellent callback.
And I liked Miss Marvel's new suit because it just looked more colorful and more saturated, but it looked like more of the same.
Yep.
And we get this. I like the singing planet. So we find
out
that
it was cool, and people were freaking out about it because, like, oh my god, it's a musical.
We find out that Carol is married.
It's hilarious.
It's a political marriage of convenience, not out of love. She just did it to do the prince a favor, and she's married to a prince on a singing planet.
That's how they communicate.
96% water.
So Dar-Benn want it.
So Dar-Benn wants it for the water. And they only communicate with song.
That's it.
Their language is song. Right. If you talk to them normally, they don't know what you're saying. You have to sing what you want to say. And you can't just sing it.
No, because Monica tries to sing.
You can't just sing your words.
It don't come out right.
Yeah. It has to be a song.
Another hilarious moment in this movie.
So I like that. And that was one of my notes, was that the planet is called Alatina. And I thought the planet was great because that's where I feel like it does a little bit of the Guardians of the Galaxy thing, where in Guardians of the Galaxy, we get to go to other planets and see how they're different than Earth, like the furry Earth planet with the animal people. This was kind of the same.
Yep.
And they spoke in a different language. It was English, but it was still singing. I could not understand some of the dialogue because they were singing it.
I don't think we were supposed to, maybe.
And I was like, I hope I didn't miss anything important.
Yeah.
Because they're singing, like when
somebody gonna break it down for us.
She's singing to the prince about
I think of why they're there and what they need.
She's telling him like Dar-Benn's coming.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta get your people ready.
I was so
But they're singing it as a song, as a duet song.
Right.
And I was so caught up in the singing of it, I missed what was being said.
Right. Them, and then the fact that Kamala and Monica are in the back trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and
I was not,
Kamala
I don't know what
and
words
Monica
were
in the back
sung.
talking about
the fact that Carol's a princess.
The fact that Carol's a princess, and the way she explains it is funny, but also how they're talking about Miss Marvel's fan fiction. Monica is trying to decide whether or not she's had too many drinks because she double fists drinks as soon as they get to the planet. So she's funny. Like,
and one already gone.
Are you just double fist the alien cocktails?
Right.
You don't even know if this is compatible with like human
the
biology.
Drinks, like, is it the drinks or is this really happening?
Yeah.
So, another funny moment.
They do a Disney princess scene where Carol magically transforms into her, just like Cinderella. She magically transforms into her dress.
Yep.
So when she gets to the princess planet. So yeah, do you have any other favorite parts?
Nick Fury, when Carol lands into the Kamala house, the Kamala's family house, and Carol's like frustrated. So she's like, I got to get out of here. And she walks away. And it was a scene where somebody, I think Monica has to fly, and she's never flown before. And then they do a switcheroo in the sky, and they come back down, and Nick's like, "Oh, that's just Carol."
Yes,
so hilarious.
The switching was very good.
Any scenes of them switching was good. The fighting was good.
I love the fact that they, like I said yesterday, I love the fact that when they realized that the switching was a problem, they were like, first thing first, we need to nail down how we can use this to our advantage instead of trying to go after Dar-Benn beforehand. We need to figure out how to perfect this first. And I love that.
I like that even though Captain Marvel is obviously the super duper ridiculously powered person, Monica and Kamala still hold their own.
She still wouldn't have been able to do it without the two of them.
Yeah, they still hold their own. They still kicking butt. They still, and it's funny because sometimes they do switch accidentally, even though they've coordinated. Sometimes it's like, oh crap, we weren't supposed to.
Because they get frustrated, and I like the fact that they show that they get frustrated while they're trying to fight, but they don't blame each other for being frustrated. Right.
There's not that typical trope of all the women get mad at each other and go their separate ways, and then they come and kumbaya.
Whenever they had an issue, they talked about it right after the fact, and I love that. Immediately. So 3 things Dar-Benn wants: air, water, and a sun. She gets the air from a Kree planet, from a Kree planet that the Skrulls have been taking refuge on. She gets the water from Aladna,
the singing planet.
Yep. And she tries to steal Earth's sun.
That's where we end up at the towards.
And I was like, this would have been really cool if while she was trying to steal the sun, Icarus came out like, hold on, what you doing?
Icarus from our other favorite B cinema score movie, Eternals.
Icarus would have took care of her.
I would have slid out of my seat so fast.
But anyway, they stop her from stealing the sun, but she has clanged the bank. She's gotten both bangles.
Yep.
They beat her up pretty good, but she tricks them and gets both bangles.
She had me. I thought she was going along with it. I'm like, you sneaky girl.
She has clanged the bangles so much that 2 things. She's killing herself.
They're too powerful for her.
They're too, just like the Infinity Stones, I guess.
Yes, you're right.
They're too powerful for one.
And she's a regular person.
Mortal Kree.
Right.
Yeah, she's an alien, but she's a mortal.
And Kamala is a mutant. So that's why she.
Which I have something else about that later on. But they stop her from stealing those 3 things. A little bit late because she gets to clang the bangles one last time.
Yep.
Like Wonder Woman. And 2 things happen. One, she blows up.
She disintegrates, literally.
Like, it was almost as fast as, you remember in Guardians 1 when they go visit Benicio del Toro and his little helper chick grabs the Power Stone and she just like blows up. It kind of happens the exact same way where she's like, it's
visually stunning, though.
She realizes at the last minute, I made a mistake, and then she blows up.
Yeah. It's a beautiful, it looks great. Her demise looks really good.
She blows up, and instead of opening like a regular jump gate to a different part of space, she opens a gate through reality, and we're seeing a rip in space and time
with a whole planet behind
it looks like a different Earth.
I didn't even know if it was Earth. It just looked like a big red
it was a lot of red energy over there,
yeah,
but a whole different reality, mirror reality over there. So they're like, okay, we got to close it. Monica comes up with the plan because she can absorb and manipulate light. If they give her all their energy, she can take it and use it to close the hole in reality.
But she has to get on the other. The way they wrote it was kind of weird. Like, she has to get in on the inside of the hole.
She had to push the doors. She had to push the little panels planks the other way.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it. She has to put herself in the other reality to close the hole from the inside versus being on the outside of it.
So she self-sacrifices where she doesn't die, but she gets stuck. She knows that she's going to get stuck over there if she closes it. but she does it anyway because that's what has to be done.
Yeah. She said she knew that she was going to have to do it that way.
Right. So
Carol tries to save her.
But she doesn't. So at 2 things. One, the bangles. I guess the bangles won't kill you as long as you don't try to open gates, because Miss Marvel seemed fine with both bangles.
I think it's because she's a mutant.
Maybe it's because it's a mutant, and maybe you just can't do everything with them.
They might need to explain that later. Yeah. But I see what you mean.
So she was able to wear both bangles and be fine. That's cool.
Yeah.
And Captain Marvel can fly from Earth to
anywhere
where the Skrull planet was. Fast enough to meet the 2 of them there. But she couldn't fly. She couldn't get to Monica, who was just like within sight.
Listen, you right.
I had an issue with that.
Because she was flying. She was looking like she was going real fast. And I'm like, she not going to make it?
She clearly doesn't need jump gates or a mat when she flies.
Miss Mama can move, okay?
Yeah, when she wants to get to some place on the other side of space, she can get there. And she comes in hot. All the time.
She wasn't coming in quite hot enough to get to Monica.
But she didn't get to Monica. Fine, whatever. We need to set up a future movie.
Right.
Nick Fury has to get all of the Saber employees from the space station to Earth before the space station fails.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is we find out Goose is pregnant.
Yep.
And has laid these little eggs all over the space station that look like brains. She's laid these little eggs all over the space station. They hatch, and they are baby Flurkin cats.
Little kittens. They look like little kittens.
And because Flurkins can swallow an infinite amount of things, they
hatch a plan.
And all of the escape pods are ruined.
Yep.
They hatch a plan.
They only got one left.
They hatch a plan to get all the employees swallowed by cats, by flurkins, so they can put them all in one space pod and send them to Earth.
Horrific yet hilarious scene I've ever seen in a movie.
So the song is from Cats, the musical that they play.
Okay.
And we get a montage of Sabre employees running for their lives from these kittens that are swallowing them up intentionally because Fury's like, we need to get as many people in as many cats as possible.
So the flurkins basically become the escape pods.
Yes, the flurkins become the escape pods. And we also get scenes of Carol and Kamala chasing down employees, holding cats and letting them swallow people.
Yes.
So they can get them back to Earth.
That was probably my second favorite scene.
I loved that scene.
So good.
It was so good. And the movie ends where Carol finally goes home. Mm-hmm. She buys Maria's old house in Louisiana.
I'm assuming I guess we can say she bought it.
Or unless Monica still owns it.
Monica probably does.
So she's got the house.
Yep.
She's taking care of the house in Louisiana until Monica gets back.
Right.
They don't know when she's going to get back.
She's just confident that Monica's coming back from wherever she is.
And we get a pre-credit stinger where Kamala goes to recruit Kate Bishop.
Yes.
Because they're going to start the Young Avengers.
Which is so funny because me and you had a whole conversation. I was like, they scrapping the Young Avengers.
They put too much time to scrap
I was like, that's not coming. And here we get a whole scene in a movie where it's obviously coming.
Too much time to scrap it.
That was a nice little scene.
Yeah.
Even though I had to eat my words.
So cool. They're going to start the Young Avengers. And then we get the real after credit scene.
Dun, dun, dun.
Where Monica wakes up in the freaking X Mansion.
Yes. She's in like the med bay of the X Mansion.
She's in the sub basement of the X Mansion. Cerebro is just down the hall.
Okay, around the corner to the left.
The X symbol, the circular X symbol doors right behind her.
Crazy.
She wakes up right next to her mom, Maria, who she thinks is her mom because she looks exactly like her mom.
That scene was crazy because she gets so worked up like, oh my God, Mom, you're alive. And the Lashana Lynch is who's playing her. Again, she's like, who?
So she wakes up next to her mom, who we find out is just another Captain Marvel variant. Yep. Just like her mom was Captain Marvel in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, her mom is also Captain Marvel in this universe, even though she's wearing the binary version of the outfit. She's Captain Marvel. I picked up on the fact that she's wearing both bangles in this universe.
Oh, I didn't see that.
You notice she's wearing both bangles.
How did...
Because that universe has two bangles. And
how does she have the bangles though? Questions to be answered
quantum
later.
band. I guess anything can be just like Infinity Stones are in every universe. They could just be things that exist.
You're right.
But Captain Marvel would be strong enough to use those bands not die. So that can explain how Monica could get back. Or how they could get back across reality.
Somehow Monica's definitely going to get back. But that's not even the end of the scene.
That's not the end of the scene. Because while she's recovering and finding out she's in a different reality.
The camera pans
freaking Beast.
Pans over the Beast from X-Men.
Freaking Beast from the X-Men.
Full Beast. Like
full
blue
Beast.
Hair, eyeglasses.
CGI, wearing the lab coat.
Got his coat on.
Got the big teeth.
Looking good.
Got the accent.
Looking comic pristine.
Talking the science. Tells her that it appears you've popped up in our reality from a hole in space and time. Not sure what's going on there, but we're going to have to ask you some questions. And then he goes upstairs and says, Charles will want to report for me soon.
Listen,
so Xavier is also in the house.
Here. Like, I mean, they was already here, but we have seen them in the flesh. They here, y'all. They coming. And Monica is with them.
And working with their version of Captain Marvel, which means that
crazy.
There's
Avenger X-Men.
There's a team. There's teams over there.
Right.
Yeah.
And Monica in the thick of it. I think she's looking at it like, oh, this is some crazy.
And that's how it ends. We end with finding out, you know.
Great.
I mean, thoughts. Blown away.
The credit scene with Beast was just like they already know everybody want X-Men.
Because he walks in the background and I saw the blue, but I just thought they were gloves because you see a little bit of blue. I thought he was holding something blue. Okay. Because then you see a lab coat. I'm like, okay, this is about to be a doctor. This is going to be like it's going to be a character. It's going to be Reed Richards or somebody that they don't explain. But it'd be freaking beast, and they went all the way, and they showed the X mansion. I mean, the X symbol on the door behind her.
Mention
that Charles was upstairs.
I can't wait for what this pan. And we're gonna have to wait. We about to wait, but I can't wait to see how this pans out. And the fact that they put Monica over there was just the coolest part.
And the fact that everywhere it seems like Maria is just a Captain Marvel in different universes. I need to see a Carol and Maria team up.
Yeah.
In Secret Wars, I need to see both Captain Marvels.
It's gonna be crazy if
marveling.
Because like that is her mom in our universe, and now she's got the person who looks like her mom in a different. That's wild.
Yeah,
that's
and it's
wild.
like, what is she in?
Yeah, she
universes?
actually starts crying because she's so like emotional.
Yeah,
she's seeing her mom, and Maria's like,
She's apologizing to her for being gone while she was sick,
and Maria's just like, I don't know you, and where did you come from? It's crazy. It's a really good after credit scene, and I'm glad they let the Marvels have it.
Yeah, it was really good. So thoughts on the movie? I loved it.
It's good.
I can't wait to see where Captain Marvel is next.
I'm buying this on Blu-ray.
I really enjoy Captain Marvel as a character.
Yes.
I enjoy how powerful she is.
I hope Brie ain't done. I'll put it that way.
I wouldn't blame her if she is, but I do hope she isn't. I wouldn't blame her if
she is, but I hope that she isn't.
I would like to see Miss Marvel again very soon. Just like Absolutely. I look forward to see Tom Holland and stuff in the MCU. I look forward to seeing her now too, because I think they did a really good job.
Well, the Young Avengers, they coming.
I mean, we don't know. It's not even on the slate, but
listen, we don't know what they be doing.
She's a New York-based hero, so
makes sense.
Most of them are. So they can pop them up in different places.
Yeah.
Maybe put her in the Ironheart or something at the end, because it's also a New York-based hero.
And she's also young.
Yeah.
And an Avenger.
And New York is big, but come on now.
Right.
Let's be for real.
I am very excited. One, I love this movie. Two, I'm very excited for what is to come based on what they have set up with this movie.
I do think this is the best woman-led superhero movie of all time. It takes my wonder.
Birds of Prey?
It's better than, I enjoyed it more than Birds of Prey.
I would agree.
And I enjoyed it more than Wonder Woman 1.
You already know me and Wonder Woman 1 don't jive that well.
Wonder Woman 1 was a good movie. I had issues with
I'll save my thoughts.
I had issues
It's not a bad
with
movie.
the writing of how stupid they made her through a majority of the movie.
That's my biggest gripe.
But the movie itself was good.
Yeah, okay, fine.
This does go
But I do enjoy the Marvels.
This is the best. It's now the Marvels, then Birds of Prey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another Birds of Prey, another women-led movie by a female director.
But it was good.
That was good. So that's why I'm just kind of like.
And it's on the top of. It's very funny because one critic said this. They went to a critic screening of the movie of the Marvels, and they said it was very funny because everybody had a good time in the theater. Yeah. But they said it seemed like they forgot.
But when they went to
write the reviews, they forgot that they enjoyed the movie. So it's very funny. I find the critic scoring system very funny.
Yeah,
because that is true. Because in our theater, it was mostly guys.
It was a lot of laughing,
and it was a lot of people who sounded like they're having a really good time. And then
it gets the B Cinema score.
So it's like, I don't.
Yeah, but definitely worth the theater. Go see it. Go support it. You'll have a good time. You'll probably need it after you watch that Loki season finale.
I had a note that I was like, this is like the third Charlie's Angels movie we never got. It was very Charlie's Angels-esque.
It was, without the like over-sexualized.
Yeah,
undertones.
It was. I mean, in like in terms of like writing and story structure, and they all had like different things to do. Yeah, they all had a simple villain, the story structure, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. So go see the Marvels. You'll have a great time. We're going to go see it again today.
Yep, in a few hours.
So what's next?
Next, we will be seeing... There are going to probably be dogs in the background in this recording.
Sorry.
But just skim over it. This is life. Hunger Games. We'll see.
It's getting good reviews. They're saying it is one of the better of the Hunger Games movies.
Okay.
So it makes me feel better about seeing it because I was going in with not wanting to see this.
I was not I didn't even finish the first set of Hunger Game movies, so I'm gonna go in with the optimistic viewpoint.
They weren't the last one,
because the last one was two.
The last one was a 2-part. It wasn't good, and it killed Mahershala Ali, so you don't need to see it.
I mean, I wasn't.
He gets like melted in acid or something.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is a prequel, so all of that will have not happened yet.
Yeah. So we'll be going to see The Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I still have not caught up on Invincible, so I still need to watch Invincible.
I only watched episode 1. It was good. Although I think the break between the 2 seasons might have played into how interested I am in it.
I hear that a lot. I hear a lot of people are saying they waited too long. I might wait
and the fact that they're breaking the season up into 2 parts, I might just wait.
And they said that even though the creators said that this will be this break between the first season and the second season will be the shortest break going forward. They'll have shorter breaks, but I do think they waited a really long time.
There's a break in this current season.
I think that The Boys expanding their franchise. It's there used to be just 2 central places for comic book fans to go and see like superhero stuff. And now there's so many different places. It's hard to keep up with all of these different franchises because then you'll only be watching franchise stuff. You
mentioned that.
So that's why I haven't gotten into Invincible yet, because I want to do more stuff with my time than just stick in superhero franchises.
It was a good episode. It looks like they're going to go in a cool direction, and I'm curious to see how it plays out, but I might just wait until at least the first part of this season is out and just binge it before the second part of the season comes out.
And we are going to cover it at the end. So
yeah,
we don't have to watch it week to week, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, other thing coming up this week, we are going to try to get tickets for Comic-Con.
Yes.
So when we record our next episode, we are either be in good spirits or downtrodden.
Yes.
We'll see. This is only our second time trying to get tickets. We'll see. Maybe we'll have second beginner's luck to get in.
But now that the strikes are over, the pandemic is never going to be over, but we're all ignoring it. We're going to try to go to Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be big announcements, especially with the way the DCU and the MCU slate look and everything else that goes around Comic-Con.
Yeah.
I hope Alex Ross is there because I want to get a picture signed. And that is all I got.
All right. So thanks for listening to our super extended episode. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or Instagram, and you can send us an email at vaguelynerdypodcast@gmail.com. And check us out at our website, vaguelynerdypodcast.com. See you in our next episode.
Bye.